Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You just had a birthday? Oh, they had a cake for you. I saw earlier.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Birthday?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
103.
103? Man. No, he's not 100. No. I'm not rolling with it.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yeah.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beers. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. We'll talk some Chiefs today. A lot of Chiefs on the docket today. Padded practice. Players out there going through the practice today. Started around 9:15 or so. Not sure when it will be over. I'm assuming it's going to be over sometime later in the 11 o'clock hour. They are limited in how many padded practices they have, but the padded practices can go up to 2.5 hours. I'm going to get, maybe it's the first one, so it's going to be different. I'm going to guess with the talk about Andy Reid's training camps and how much work they get done and all the reps, and it's tougher than other training camps. I'm going to guess that at the limited padded practices that Andy Reid will probably try to take advantage of all of the time he has on the field with the limited pads. So they can be on the field for up to 2.5 hours. I'm guessing that would be the case. So technically practice started at 9:15, but I think the CBA rule is as soon as players get on the field, which is right around 9 o'clock. So maybe sometime in the 11 o'clock hour, we expect to hear from the Chiefs. That will be Andy Reid, it'll be Mike Dana, it'll be Travis Kelce, and it'll be Elijah Lee that will be at the podium today. So we'll hear from Andy Reid, get his thoughts on the news of the day, and that is Orlando Brown reporting to camp today. We'll get his thoughts on that and other things with training camp, first padded practice, as we said. And also Jody Fortson is at practice today. No helmet, just working off on the side, and he has a quad injury, they say, so nothing too bad. So we'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, and Travis Kelce as well, along with Mike Dana and Elijah Lee. We'll talk with Craig Brown in the noon hour. We'll talk with him in the Fountains newsletter about the Royals. We are looking at 31 hours away from the trade deadline right now. 31 hours, less than, 30 hours and 53 minutes to the trade deadline for Major League Baseball and the Royals, and we'll see if anybody else is traded by the Royals. Plenty of names are out there being talked about and connected to the Royals, but whether it's connected to the Royals as in this team is interested in this specific player for the Royals, or these players have continued to be talked about, does it necessarily mean that they're going to be traded? With Merrifield, Michael A. Taylor, Scott Barlow, Josh Stallmont seem to be the most likely candidates to be traded, and we'll find out, obviously, in the next 31 hours if any of those, or all of them, end up being traded. So we'll talk with Craig Brown about that. Salvi's return, 3 games, 7 RBIs, 2 3-run home runs, giving the Royals the lead in which they lost, and then giving the Royals the lead in which they won, and held on to the lead yesterday. So Salvi's return, the young guns in the 5th inning yesterday, the Vinny Pasquantino, MJ Melendez, Nick Prado, Michael Garcia that came through with the walk, the single, the double in that inning. That was kind of fun to see happen. And then, of course, you've got Salvi with the 3-run shot, as we talked about. So we'll talk with Craig Brown coming up in the noon hour. Mick Shaffer is in St. Joe, so we will talk with him in the 1 o'clock hour. His observations from what he saw in the first padded practice today. And we'll get some Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as well. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810 to weigh in and join us. Josh Brisco here. What up, man?
Hi, Jason. How was your weekend? You're glowing today.
You know, it was fine. It was a good weekend, fine weekend. You know, nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing overwhelming or underwhelming. I was whelmed this weekend. It was just nice, low-key with the family.
Where does that rank on your list of desired weekends? Because you don't always
very high.
a we went to Worlds of Fun weekend, because that's not very relaxing.
Very high. A weekend of just hanging, not dictated by times and have to be here at this time and this is on, other than when's the Royals game on? It's at this time. I'll watch it. I'll have it on. You know, when's the Royals game on Sunday? It's at this time, 12:30. I'll watch it. I'll have it on. Whereas, like, in about a month, it's MUK, UK State. When are their games? I will be in front of the TV. I'll be watching that. Then is there time between that I can do that? And then on Sunday, when is the Chiefs game? I'll be in front of the TV. Very much dictated by times and things like that. I enjoy the just hanging and going with the flow. What'd you do?
You got to plug back in sometimes. That was basically it for me.
Good for you. Plugged in?
You plugged. Well, you unplug. Here's what you have to do. You unplug from the computer, from the Twitter, the constant tweet deck running, and then you just plug into some form of power outlet, whatever that is for you. So I had a friend come over, hadn't gotten to see in a while. Renee and I just spent the day together yesterday. Accomplished absolutely nothing at all. I mean, off day from camp. I didn't even have to follow camp tweets yesterday.
I know,
I mean, that right there. That's a lazy Sunday, straight from the cover of a Calvin and Hobbes treasury. It's the good stuff right there.
Or Saturday Night Live. Lazy Sunday.
Either one.
913-912.
Our references are a little different sometimes.
A little bit. 4810. All right, so the news of the day, Orlando Brown, he shows up to training camp. It's a little confusing when it's like, well, you know what? He didn't miss any padded practices. He shows up today. He ain't practicing today. So there's at least one padded practice that he did miss. But still, he shows up and ultimately 5 days of camp and really only 4 because Tuesday was an off day and they were going through some conditioning things. Then they practiced Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then an off day on Sunday. So 4 practices that he was not in camp for. In camp today, going through his conditioning drills to see if he passes the physical. And then if he does, he will be available to practice tomorrow. Does that mean he will be practicing with the team, or he'll go through more of the acclimation period that the Chiefs did last week? I'm not sure the schedule on all the padded practices for the Chiefs. I don't have that in front of me. But not there today at the padded practice. And there was a lot of question, obviously, as to when Orlando Brown was going to show up, when he was going to be at training camp. And RG3 broke the news that Orlando Brown was showing up to training camp. And so then I reached out to the agent of Orlando Brown, who I've been trying to get on the show for some time. He has expectedly gracefully declined multiple times. And it's like, hey, any update on Orlando Brown? Nothing. So as soon as RG3's tweet went out, reached out to him. He's like, yes, I can confirm. And I'm like, okay, so why? Why today? What's the point? And he said, quote, Orlando understands how important it is to be present and active during padded practices. He realizes this is a time period where team leaders are solidified. So that is from Orlando Brown's agent, Michael Portner, and Orlando Brown is there in St. Joe. So I guess, first of all, reaction, Josh, to the news that came out this morning, which was quite the surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see him this week. I don't know how many people said that they thought he would be in St. Joe. I've felt like he was going to be in St. Joe. We've done buy or sell. You know, I've talked about it multiple times that the timing to me, and we can get into the timing and everything, the timing, like looking at the calendar, didn't make sense for him to miss all of St. Joe. But regardless, I didn't think he'd be here this early. I thought it would maybe be next week or the week after that. But your reaction to Orlando Brown showing up to camp today?
It is maybe the most logical outcome for everything that we've gone through observing these last couple of weeks. Like whenever we've had the conversations of, okay, there's a lot of money here that they're leaving on the table, but they didn't love the guarantees. Well, the Chiefs see Orlando Brown valued in this certain way, and Orlando Brown's camp sees him valued this certain way. I'm going to learn this cough button eventually.
You'll get there.
I'm going to get there someday.
It's fine.
It's a Monday, you know. My voice will be fine by the second hour. whenever you look at the logic that must have been in hand for Orlando Brown, for Michael Portner, for all of his advisors and mentors and everything, it would have been very hard to follow the through line of, I just want another year to raise my value and then we can try again, if they did not show up at camp shortly upon pads coming on. We talked about that at the time. I said that if he's getting good advice, he can hold out, or he can play under the franchise tag. He can miss the beginning of camp. He can miss mini camps, but he needs to be there whenever the bullets start flying. That was always, I think, for me, the underlying logic that had to accompany everything that happened here. There never needed to be a villain. Nobody was ever being totally outrageous about their own or perceived value. A lot of the drama that came from that over those last couple of days, or the day or two after the contract window passed, that didn't have to be all the weeping and gnashing of teeth. And frankly, I think the Chiefs had a pretty good idea that Brown was going to report at some point relatively soon, because they just went, hey, we negotiated for as long as we could. We disagreed on my value. Let me play this year out for about $17 million. You get a good one-year deal for your left tackle. I get a chance to hit free agency next year when you're going to want to pay me all that money. And if he plays out this year well, the Chiefs will be just fine paying him whatever he deserves next year. Or they do this again. Or he finds his payday somewhere else. But ultimately, I think this path is the one that most led to a win-win scenario for both of these sides.
The one thing I do wonder is, were the Chiefs aware that today was the day that he was going to return?
No.
Right. Here's,
no, we know that it's not.
Right, but here's my adding up 1 + 1 as to why I'm not sure that that's the case.
What's going on in St. Joseph?
Brain Windhorst fingers going back and forth. The original press conference today was Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Mike Dana, and Roderick Johnson. The press conference now is Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Mike Dana, and Elijah Lee. Originally, Roderick Johnson was going to talk with the media today. Yes. He's no longer talking with the media today. It's Elijah Lee. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Maybe that's just the PR was like, okay, well, let's switch this guy up. Or they thought, well, do we want to go with Roderick Johnson? Then they remembered Andy Reid's quote last week when he said, Roderick, good to have out. You don't want him in the tent here talking to you guys because he doesn't say anything, but good to have out there on the field. Maybe they remembered that, and then they went with Elijah Lee. I'm not sure, but he was originally scheduled to talk today. News comes out that Orlando Brown is reporting to camp. He is no longer talking with the media. It is Elijah Lee.
We know that Chiefs PR at some level down the ladder did not know that he would be reporting today.
That's right.
I don't know how high the conspiracy goes. I don't know who ordered the code red, but somebody didn't know that Orlando Brown was coming back. It might have just been the PR assistant who, I don't know who would have written the sign. Maybe been the PR person who wrote on the sign and who worked. But somewhere up the list there, somebody didn't know. Could it go all the way to the top? Who's to say?
Is it Orlando Gate?
It is Orlando Gate.
Press conference gate?
Yeah, it is. Andy Reid, extensive cover up. You know, we didn't talk to Orlando. You know, Patrick Mahomes saying, we talk every day. I haven't asked him when he's going to show up or not. Okay, or if you say so. But he's here now. So I think things are pretty good. I think the Chiefs are pretty happy right now. Yeah. And I think Orlando Brown being here means that he's not pissed. And I think that is a major victory.
I'm good with it. I mean, obviously good with it because he showed up to camp, and it's before the first preseason game. It's a couple of weeks before that first preseason game. I mean, 12 days before they get going. So in theory, he could play in that first preseason game. I would expect that would be the case, missing 5 days. If he had the flu last week and missed, the 4 practices, we wouldn't be going, is he going to play in the first preseason game on the 13th? We'd be going, okay, he's back at practice, cool, at the padded practice, ready to go. So I expect him to be there, available, and ready to go in the first preseason game. The reason it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me timing-wise for him to miss all of training camp, and because they break camp on the 18th, so they return to Kansas City on the 19th. And looking at the schedule for the Chiefs, they play the Commanders on the 20th. So they break camp, they come back to Kansas City, they don't practice, they have a preseason game. And so then they return on Monday when they actually return and get back to practice on that Monday, because Saturday playing Washington, Sunday day off, Monday practicing. That's when, in theory, he would report, right? It would be, well, then he's going to be ready to go. They play their third preseason game on the 25th. So 5 days after. That's that quick turnaround. So if he reports on Monday, they would be playing the third preseason game on Thursday. There is zero chance he plays in that. Also, per CBA, you are allowed one padded practice after the third preseason game. So that means Orlando Brown, before game number 1, would have one padded practice before week 1 against Arizona when it's go time and you've got to protect Patrick Mahomes. So when we talk about shape and football shape and ready to go, the timing of it from that standpoint, when he says, he wants all this money, he wants to prove he's this all-pro left tackle, and this is the year to do it, he's betting on himself. It wouldn't make sense to bet on himself to not be in full football shape with padded practices going into week 1 against Arizona, and then you're getting ready against NFL teams, the Chargers the next week, the Colts, the Bucks, the Raiders. The first 6 weeks are pretty crucial. I didn't know when he would show up. I figured it would be before the Commanders game, and he might dress for the Green Bay game, get a couple of padded practices in, then the Green Bay game happens, one more padded practice, and then good to go. I assume maybe he would play in that Thursday game, August 25th against Green Bay. But all of this stuff was in flux and up in the air because we thought maybe he would have an agent before June.
Right.
We thought he would show up to camp if he didn't get his long-term deal done because he doesn't gain anything by that. And then when he didn't show up to camp, I certainly thought it would be longer than this. But the timing didn't make sense for him to be fully ready to go week 1.
Can you read the quote again from Michael Portner that he
Yes.
he sent to you? It's the reason we call you Jason Insiderson, which
What
really
do they call me?
No, it's really important the way you enunciate the last part of your last
sure
name.
That's
No, I said it out loud and I did hear it.
know that I would.
Jason Anderson.
I don't know
Insider.
that I would
Is that better?
pronunciate slower.
Is Jason Anderson Insider worse somehow than Jason Insiderson?
No.
They're both bad.
Jason Anderson Insider is not worse than Jason Insiderson.
We got him to say it. Beards, mark it. We got him to say it. This is the new imaging.
I walked right into it. Walked right into it.
What was your
and sinker.
What was your quote again there, Jason Insiderson?
Quote, Orlando understands how important it is to be present and active during padded practices. He realizes this is a time period where team leaders are solidified, end quote.
Sometimes I really do think we overemphasize. We're out there with just in the sweat and the heat. We're becoming brothers and we're getting bound together as a
I feel like
team.
that was a little Hulk Hogan there, brother.
There's a little bit of brother.
And I'll tell you this something, brother. When we're out there in padded practices, brother.
That's when we become, and then all of a sudden, like, your team trades for Melvin Ingram halfway through the season, and he's the spark your pass rush team. It's like, wait a second, did August really matter? I think we can overemphasize that. I don't think that's happening here. I think there is something very real about, look, man, nobody, and I believe this to be largely as true as possible, virtually nobody is going to begrudge Orlando Brown for trying to get every dollar he could this offseason, or saying, hey, I'm not willing to long-term commit to this team because I want more guarantees. Patrick Mahomes gets it. Travis Kelce gets it. Everybody who has made a nickel on this team and in the NFL understands that. But I do think if you go, hey, you have $17 million just waiting for you, and this is not about your individual payday here. This is about how we get better as a team right now. You'll be well compensated for this year and then do whatever you have to next. I think this, though, being present when you don't even necessarily absolutely have to be. By the letter of a contract, the franchise tender that Orlando Brown, as of this moment, publicly we don't believe he has signed. If he signed it, it could have happened this morning. They'll have to make a corresponding roster move.
It was that he will sign the franchise tag. And
Right.
you're right, the roster move then after that.
So we'll know whenever he officially signs because somebody's probably going to have to get cut after practice today. But
What if it was Roderick Johnson? That would be
would be
terrible.
sad.
That would be odd.
I don't think it will be.
It would be odd with all the love for Roderick Johnson, and he's the one that's got to go. But anyway, go ahead.
And Prince is already on the PUP list, I guess, right? So Prince and Lucas Niang both on PUP.
Prince is out longer than just the pup list.
I think that maybe but they're still on the, I don't know. You couldn't move either of those guys right now because they're not on the active either. So anyway, I digress. The point of all of that to say, I really do think there is something. And I even, just like in the responses to your tweets, which is kind of funny, like, people have gone pretty quickly, I think reasonably, from Orlando Brown, selfish, not there for camp, he doesn't care about the team, to like, oh, you know what? He got out there before he absolutely had to because he believes in becoming better in this time. He becomes in this team becoming better at this time. Andy Reid preaches the importance of all this. As you said earlier, Carlos Dunlap isn't at camp yet, right? Dealing with personal matters and related to the passing of his father back in January. It seems like the Chiefs are very understanding of that. I'm sure that came up in their contract discussions was, hey, I'll be there in a week. No one's concerned about Carlos Dunlap not hitting the on-ramp fast enough.
Yeah.
No need to for Orlando Brown either, because we know he's, if not practicing today, tomorrow, expect him to be out there. I do think that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so the team leaders thing is interesting because it comes off as more of an individual thing again.
Yeah.
So it comes off as this is where team leaders are solidified, not necessarily this is where the team gets better and he wants to be a part of that, the offensive line overall, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, which, those things happen. When I saw he understands where the padded practices, he wants to be present because the quote-unquote leaders are, a time period where team leaders are solidified. Obviously, he wants to be a team leader. That much we know.
It's
because
aspirational.
Yes, because that is the quote about being a team leader.
Yeah.
It was just odd that I didn't, when I was reading it, with the email, and it said where team, I didn't know what the next word was going to be.
Where the team is built or solidified.
When it's
sure.
team leaders are solidified.
Sure.
My first reaction was, like that was the motivation of returning was, hey, if I'm going to be a team leader, I need to be out there. That being said, you've got to be good at your craft, know what you're doing, and be a big part of the team to be a team leader. The 53rd man that doesn't ever play is not the team leader. He can't be the team leader. Nobody's going to, what am I, shut up, man. You don't get in the, oh, really? What was it like watching the game? We were out there, but tell us more about what we need to do and work on and be better at. Please, guy, because, you didn't get the water to me quick enough.
Right.
So you've got to be really good at that. I said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I don't know. So we were talking with Adam Teicher, and all I can go off of is sort of my sensibilities and the way that I would view a teammate or having teammates or being a part of a team overall. That if Orlando Brown was in a contract dispute, had a current contract, had 1 year left, wanted an extension, and said, you know what, I'm going to sit out and I want to put more pressure on the Chiefs to be able to give in to some of the demands that I want. Okay, you are trying to gain something. There is something monetary, tangible that you could gain by doing that. There is nothing tangible that you can gain by missing training camp any day. So talking with Adam, like just sitting back and thinking about it, when players talk about teammates this and teammates that, and Orlando Brown's a great teammate, Patrick Mahomes had said that, and I have no reason to say that he isn't. Those guys would know better than I. It's just odd to think about if you put yourself in that position and your teammates are at practice and they're working out and they're going through all the drills and they're doing all of the team stuff and you're working out on your own, it would be weird as a teammate to know I'm gaining nothing except maybe pouting while my teammates are there doing that, sweating together, eating, studying, going to team meetings, and I'm just off on my own, working out, getting ready to be there. That would be odd. I had talked to Adam. Like, when I take a day off here, it's like I don't feel great even taking a day off because then it's more on your plate, it's more on Beard's plate. Maybe it's Lebo doing some stuff. Maybe it's other people. There's extra weight for other people to pick up when that particular person isn't there. And when Orlando Brown wasn't there, it's, well, now Roderick Johnson steps up and they get used to him, but he's out there. Is he going to be playing? Is he the second stringer, the third stringer? Yeah, it's good to get some reps in there. They rotated guys on Saturday in the first team, so getting some of those reps. As a teammate, not being there just seems odd when it's all about the brotherhood and being next to the guy and getting in the dirt and in the trenches. But when all of that stuff's being built, you're off on your own. That's what was odd to me. Showing up today takes a little bit or a lot of sort of the teeth from that away.
I absolutely take the teeth of that away. I think there's some very interesting stuff in there I'd love to unpack. But Stephen St. John just tweeted that Patrick Mahomes just tweaked his ankle.
Shut up.
Adam Teicher says that Mahomes. It doesn't. Not. There's no. Everybody, pick up deep.
It's a tweak.
Deep breath.
It's a tweak.
The word was tweak.
Tweak.
And Adam Teicher, the aforementioned, just tweeted Mahomes is getting attention from trainers on the sideline. Looks like his left leg. I presume that meant a tweak, and then he walked over to the sideline. But just wanted to make the point. Limped off the field during 11 and 11s. Steve Walls here says seems to be walking it off. I just wanted to mention out loud. We'll probably get a Patrick Mahomes based injury update somewhere in the 11 o'clock hour. I will continue to update what I see.
I'm glad that St. John said ankle tweak.
Yeah.
Tweak, excuse me. Ankle tweak in the tweet. Because heart would drop, stomach would get nauseous if I just read Adam Teicher's that says Mahomes is getting attention from the trainers on the sideline. Looks like his left leg. The green face emoji.
Do you remember how you felt when his
Yes,
leg
I remember exactly
was
how I felt.
locked in
I remember
place?
exactly how I felt. Yes, do you? I know exactly where I was.
Yeah,
I know exactly the moment.
I was here and I stopped watching the rest of the game. The rest of the game didn't matter.
It
was
did not
just
matter
Patrick
to me.
Mahomes' knee.
I'm with you.
Sam, I'm sorry. I'm just going to interrupt you with more Patrick Mahomes news.
Keep interrupting.
Sam McDowell says Patrick Mahomes seemed to tweak his left ankle during team
Another
drills, but
ankle
he
one.
bypassed a trip to the tent. Appears to be fine. Stephen St. John
Okay.
says Mahomes is walking around somewhat gingerly, but he's not in the injury tent.
Okay.
So
Not in the injury tent. All good.
by the time we're back from a commercial break, I expect Patrick Mahomes to have grown a third fully functioning ankle just to have a spare one.
Well, we know he has elastic tendons and ligaments.
Yes.
We know that from when you're talking about the one of the sickest moments that I have felt as a fan was there in Denver, and I'm with you. I don't remember what happened the rest of the game.
Blacked out.
I know
all about Twitter.
I was the walk back, right? The tweets, the maybe it's not as bad as they think.
If I remember correctly, I think that was the game where they sacked Joe Flacco like 9 times.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was.
Couldn't have told
No,
you that. For
you're
a
absolutely
million
right.
years.
They were in the backfield the whole time because it started off with the game where Denver went right down the field and just tore through the Chiefs, not even tearing through. It was like hot knife through butter, the first possession. And I remember thinking, whip, there's the defense again. Spags said it would take a while, but man, this thing is bad because the Broncos are not good. And then it got worse.
I remember following on, again, I was here. Okay, Steven says Mahomes is going into the injury tent right now, so we'll see. I remember
To
during
get a
that
third
game,
leg?
Whoa. I remember specifically during that game reading tweets of reporters who were leaving the press box to go down like inside the stadium to try to get that was where the game was at. One more thing here, Matt Derrick. Patrick Mahomes got tangled up in traffic on his last rep. He's been shaking out his lower left leg. He's now going to the medical tent with Rick Burkholder.
Okay. So he didn't want medical attention. They eventually said, "Hey, man, you're worth $500 million. Let's at least look at it.
Let's get to the tent.
Let's get to the tent. Let's look at it." And no reason for Mahomes to be back out there for the rest of the practice because they've got Chad Henne and they've got. Why didn't Mahomes hold out? I would like Mahomes to have held out until the first game against Arizona. That would be great. No, it seems like these things happen in training camp and go into the injury tent, but maybe not all that serious. But yeah, I remember that night. Know exactly where I was. The exact feeling. I remember where my wife was, where my son was, everything immediately when that happened, because the adrenaline kicks in and your memory works better when all that adrenaline is pumping. Everything, every moment about that, and then laying on the couch just in a haze, in a daze the rest of the way. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Took Jason an hour and 40 minutes to find the stats, 2.5 hours to tell the story.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so Chiefs at training camp today. Padded practice, first one of training camp. We think we'll hear from the Chiefs sometime early in the 11 o'clock hour, so not the full 2.5 hour practice with the pads on today, which, you know, I guess a couple of ways to look at it. You got limited number of practices with the pads on. You could be out there 2.5 hours. Andy Reid's practices are typically more difficult, so maybe he was going to be out there for the full 2.5 hours, or it's padded practice number one. Probably don't want to overdo it the first day when you might have some sore necks and some bumps and bruises more than just a regular training camp practice. So instead of 2.5 hours, it looks like probably an hour and a half is what the practice is going to be. So we'll hear from Andy Reid and Mike Dana and Travis Kelce and Elijah Lee. Also hearing from those out at camp that looks like Patrick Mahomes is fine. He is now jogging, so he is moving and jogging and everything is good. Apparently, the pocket collapsed with some DL pressure, and he hurt his ankle, and then walked over to the tent, walked out of the tent with his helmet in hand. Looks like his ankle was retaped, and then jogging, and now participating in QB's the final drills of the day for the quarterbacks. So, all good. I feel like in the last 5 minutes, the progression from Patrick Mahomes is injured and they're looking at his left leg to Patrick Mahomes tweaked his ankle to Patrick Mahomes is not in the injury tent to Patrick Mahomes is now heading to the injury tent to Patrick Mahomes is now out of the injury tent to Patrick Mahomes is participating in quarterback drills in the final drills of the day. How he's walking and what he looks like, to me, I'm just picturing a young giraffe being born and sort of slowly bobbing back and forth, trying to get its balance, and people are just watching it. Limp, a little bit, jogging, quarterback drills. He's walking! Oh, my goodness. Nature is so beautiful. Look at this thing. He's walking. He looks so good.
Does he have his helmet? Is he wearing it? Is he holding it? Is
it in his right hand or his left hand?
Is Rick Burkholder holding his helmet for him? Where is his helmet?
Is Salvi there?
Where is Salvador Perez? He'd be back by now. Rush him back as quickly as possible.
Why didn't Patrick Mahomes hold out?
If Patrick Mahomes played for the Royals, that ankle could be sideways, and he'd be playing again in 2 weeks. He wouldn't go on the 10-day.
Put the man in bubble wrap. He's got a yellow jersey. Not good enough.
Give him a yellow sock for his ankles. Tell his ankles they can't be bending around.
Doesn't the offensive line know you're not supposed to touch the quarterback? So if the defensive line pushed the offensive lineman back to the court, you're not supposed to touch the quarterback offensive lineman. Josh Allen getting in a fight at practice because he got bumped by a defensive lineman. That was just getting bumped by one. Also, the offensive line, defensive line pressured and collapsed the pocket. Thanks a lot, Orlando Brown. You know, had Orlando Brown been there, the pocket wouldn't have collapsed. We know this. Also, now that we know that, in all seriousness, now that we know that Mahomes is fine, hearing...
Well, hey.
Knock on wood. Yeah, okay, thank you.
This is the sound of my fingers crossing.
Thank you, John Gruden. Knock on wood if you're with me.
Listen, I'm with Patrick Mahomes' ankle.
Now that we know that he's back participating in quarterback drills, had his ankle taped, all good, then to me it turns to, yes, the offensive line is missing Orlando Brown, but if the offensive line got collapsed by the defensive line, that ain't the worst thing in the world in padded practices early on. Just saying. In these incredibly surface-level observations of how good a team can be in the first padded practice when across the league it's first padded practice. So all of these, NFL Network, ESPN, it's just videos of what's going on at practice. Twitter is just streaming in with different reporters from different teams about what they're seeing, and this person doing that and that person doing that, and Mac Jones sucking yesterday and even worse this morning when practice started and all of that stuff. He gets... it's all that's going on right now is all this information. It's information overload. It's just streaming in of NFL players and pads at practice. But that's what we have.
Nothing matters to me other than eventually getting a high-definition photograph of Patrick Mahomes' ankles both being exactly in the place they're supposed to be.
Okay.
I forgot what it feels like to be worried about Patrick Mahomes' health, even for these last 10 minutes. Like, I don't believe that there is anything to be worried about now. I think that the news we have gotten is that everything is fine. They're being very cautious. Patrick Mahomes is in the clear. I believe that to be the logical human being's response to what the information that we currently have. I'm not there yet. I need the Chiefs to come to the podium in a little bit, and I need them to say, Pat had an ankle, everything's good. Even that phrase might not fully quell my fears at this point, though.
Okay.
I am a bit more nervous than I expected to be on the first day of padded training camp practice.
Always. I mean, always. It's no matter what the name, right? No matter what the name or the team, the last thing you want to see is the flashing red scroll at the bottom with your team in breaking news. You don't want to see that. You just don't want to see that at this time. There's nothing else right now for the Chiefs in breaking news. Dunlap is in. Dunlap is signed. Orlando Brown has reported to camp today. Nothing left for the breaking news stuff around the Chiefs. So no news is good news at training camp.
Absolutely.
No news is good news at training camp. This is the time just to hope that your team does not show up on the scroll at the bottom of the breaking news.
Unless Travis Kelce grows 2 more arms.
That'd be awesome.
Which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unless that happens, I don't want to see a Chiefs logo next to the flashing red and the words breaking news at any point until... I don't know that I want to see them near breaking news until, like, December. Because I feel like there's not a lot of room to it be improved upon. There is a lot of injuries that could still happen. I just want Patrick Mahomes and Jody Fortson to be healthy and happy. That's all I want.
One of the some more videos coming out as well a few minutes ago before Patrick Mahomes tweaked his ankle. There was a handoff to Jerick McKinnon, and Frank Clark just burst through and made the tackle, quote, tackle for loss. It would have been a loss about 3 or 4 yards on McKinnon, but then he had to let go, and then McKinnon, they always finish the run, right?
Sure.
Turns up and runs like, wow, McKinnon, he just broke 5 tackles.
And breakaway speed.
Good. Why can't he get the ball more? These Chiefs running backs, you cannot get them down. I am fearful of the defense and their inability of tackling. Mind you, he did beat Roderick Johnson. But that's what Frank Clark's supposed to do, is to just simply move Roderick Johnson out of the way and then get Jerick McKinnon in the backfield. It would be bad news if he didn't do that. Right?
Yes, you would like that victory.
Yes, it's actually dog bites man for him to do that. It's man bites dog if he's stymied by Roderick Johnson. You want that to be the case. I also want to hear from Frank Clark. He had an amazing press conference yesterday or Saturday. Really good. Was it Saturday or yesterday? Yeah, it was Saturday. They didn't do anything yesterday.
Yeah.
A really good press conference. Let's return and play some clips from Frank Clark. We'll hear some more from Frank Clark throughout the show as well. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Mike Dana, Travis Kelce, Elijah Lee at the podium when practice wraps up. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
The horn just blew. Can I get
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so there were two really good clips from Frank Clark. I mean, the press conference was like 14 minutes, and it was all really good stuff. But a couple of the topics that came up for Frank Clark, the one that most people are talking about is this offseason, what happened. He lost weight, slimmed down, and one of the things he was asked was about the losing weight, what he did to lose that weight. Here is Frank Clark weighing in on Saturday, and this is pretty candid and revealing stuff from Frank Clark. Here he is weighing in on what he did. This is a longer clip, about 3.5 minutes, what he did to lose the weight.
One of the main things is just I cut a lot of red meat out. I stopped drinking liquor. So, like, alcohol is a big factor, you know what I mean? And a lot of things as far as weight, that gut, a lot of things, times a lot of fat, it's all sugar. So at the end of the day, I stopped drinking liquor about right after the season, honestly. It was like February. I had got sick. You know, I'd be having stomach problems and stuff, gastrointestinal problems. So I haven't had any since I stopped drinking liquor. And it kind of started making more sense, you know. As I'm going on, I'm training. You know, I feel my body is responding to me. I'm able to get up. I'm able to work out all times of the day, all times of night. You know, and so, you know, that's really, it was a commitment I made.
I mean, obviously, you know, when you say you stopped drinking liquor, was you drinking heavy? I mean, was it drinking to the point where
Nah, I mean, I was just drinking liquor to the point where, you know, as a young kid coming into the league, you know, it's normal coming out of college. I went to Michigan. You know, I went to a big party school. I enjoyed it when I did. You know, it was fun. You know, after games, you know, those times in between. But, you know, at some point you got to grow up. I got 3 kids. You know, I got kids looking at me, you know, every day. I got a 6-year-old daughter, you know, who's looking at daddy, you know, looking at me to make the right decisions. You know, I can't afford to be nowhere drunk, nowhere missing times, missing dates, missing anything that's important. And I got too many important events coming up in my life.
How much weight did you end up cutting, and how do you feel like it's helped you so much?
Well, last camp, I came into camp, I believe I was 262. And that was heavy. That was the heaviest I had been since really like my 3rd year in the league with Seattle. I hadn't been that heavy. I haven't played under 260. I was playing like at 255, 250 for, you know, the latter half of my career. And, you know, I just wanted to get back to that. I wanted to get back to feeling my feet. I feel like I wasn't feeling my feet as much last year. I wasn't as quick off the ball. I wasn't as explosive. And, I mean, it's obvious. You can watch the film and see I was way heavier. I had a gut. It was like I was looking sloppy out there, you know what I mean? And the type of guy I'm a professional. You know, I understand how this goes. So at the end of the day, you know, you got to come in a presentable fashion in everything that you do. And me as a professional, you know, I feel like I need to change my body. I need to change my mental. And that's exactly what I did.
Frank, you talked a minute ago about cutting out the alcohol. Mm-hmm. How many nights a week would you say you were drinking last year?
I wouldn't say it was nights a week. I don't really drink like that. It's just the fact that I drink. You know what I'm saying? You get to a Friday, you get to an off day or something like that, and you out at a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? You ordering shots, or you with your guys, you ordering shots. You go to the club in the summertime, off season. That's the biggest time. It's the off season. It's not really the season. You know, the season, I've always been the avid. I'm always focused. I'm always cutting stuff out, you know. But it's the off season that's the most important time. You know, that's what guys don't really understand. That's when y'all don't see us every day. You know, we're not around coaches every day. We're not getting evaluated every day. You know, so that's when you're going out, you're going on vacation, you taking time off and working out. You know what I mean? So my thing was I needed to get back in the lab. You know, I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I know what I needed to do. You know I need to get back in the lab. I need to refocus, get back focused on my craft. And, you know, first thing getting back focused on my craft is, you know, getting back focused on my body, taking care of myself, getting back, getting my mental health back together, and, you know, getting back just right, you know, getting back in the right place so I can go out here and compete and have fun.
The weight that you lost, have you gotten your strength, or have you feel like you got your strength
back? Yeah, you gotta watch. You gotta watch, man. One leg, one arm. I'm standing them up.
All right, so there's Frank Clark. There was a lot more in that press conference yesterday on Saturday. We'll play some more from Frank Clark throughout the show. But, I mean, it was candid. It was revealing. It was open and honest about what he had to do in the offseason and cutting out liquor in his life, which is really interesting because for 2 years he's been battling the gastrointestinal issues, the stomach issues that he's talked about. And he talked about getting with a nutritionist, the food he was eating, trying to get better at that. And the whole time, apparently, it was the liquor that he was enjoying. but cut that out, and that has been better for his stomach issues. And then refocusing his career in the offseason where maybe he wasn't doing that before. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully it all comes to fruition on the field and he plays like he's turned his career around. All right, welcome back here in the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll be heading to St. Joe any second. Andy Reid is apparently on his way over to the tent to speak with the media today. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Mike Dana, and Elijah Lee will talk today. Orlando Brown showed up to camp today, going through some physicals and having to pass the conditioning test and all of that stuff before he can go out and practice. Did not practice today, full padded practice. Here's Andy Reid.
I practiced today. Had a good day. First day in pads, warm. A little shorter practice by league rules, and so part of the ramp-up period now for pads, same type of thing that we had when the guys first came in without the pads. So, but they worked their tail off, and I thought it was good competition between both sides. That time's yours.
Patrick Mahomes going to get tangled up there until we're going to practice.
There you got stepped. He's okay. There you got stepped. He's okay.
So you stepped on him?
Yeah. Offensive lineman got pushed back.
The defense when they can touch people and have some pads on.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game. So that's you play in these things, so you get used to them, and that's what this is all about. We try to do it where guys are off the ground and they can get with the work in and keep people healthy, but still play hard and get ourselves into football shape for a game.
Evans reports that when they show up today, what's the ramp-up period like, if that is the case, and how many days until he can really get going?
Yeah, so, I mean, you have the right to, I guess, throw him back in and go. We'll, when he gets here, we'll talk to him and see where he's at, and then, be smart with it. So.
He's not here the same day.
Yeah. I haven't seen him. Yeah.
Have you heard any indication that he will be here soon, or this week or anything?
There's a good chance. When the fish is in the boat, then I'll let you know.
How important is it for the fish to be in the boat and to get here with enough time to get ready for the preseason?
Yeah, well, you said it. I mean, that's what it is. It's hard to mimic the game speed and putting the uniform on and so on, helmet and pads on when you're doing stuff on your own. So you got to go through that to get yourself right, and he understands that.
In the bigger picture, what's he missed so far? 5 days of camp, 1 in pads. What in the bigger picture?
Yeah, we just have to catch up on the new stuff. Yeah, and then the conditioning part, right? So.
Coach, you mentioned the conditioning part. How tough is it for the first day of pads? As far as I saw a lot of guys with, one knee on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was warm, and it's tough. I mean, you're adding another layer on, and plus, the crown that they have to wear, which isn't real cool, and so you add that with the heat and the elements. It's, you got to push yourself through, and we're smart with the water. We give the guys water breaks, in the long drive period, so they can keep the liquids in.
Frank Clark had some interesting comments. He talked about the conversation he had with you at the end of the season. He said he did a lot to change his body, stop drinking alcohol, cut out the red meat. How much have you seen from him? He said he's lighter, 12 pounds lighter than last year. What difference have you seen in him so far in camp?
Yeah, well, he's moving fast. When we did our conditioning test, he was right up there in front on that, and you see him out here, and he's got good endurance going right now. So he came back in good shape.
That last part, Andy, when you guys go long, 15, 16 plays, I know you appreciate that, but
9
the
plays.
players are going, huh?
9 plays today, yeah.
Yeah, but how much do the players appreciate that? I know it's got to be hard for them, but how much do you appreciate watching them go through that?
Yeah, so we ramp up to a higher number and give them a little bit more either every day or every other day. But they don't, I'm not going to tell you they appreciate it when they're doing it, but they know down the road it'll help them. And you've heard comments from guys about that when we've gotten into games and you've got a 12-play drive and you got to push through it. This gives them a foundation that they go, you know what, I've been there. I can do this. So.
Coach, later this week, Dick Vermeil is going to be inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
From preparing against a Dick Vermeil team, what stands out to you?
Yeah, well coached and tough. You can't survive in this thing like he did for all those years without that. And then the fact that he took a hiatus in between, not really a hiatus, I mean, he was working his tail off, but the fact that he got out of the game and was able to come back in and be as productive and continue to grow just says volumes for him. That's why he's going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, phenomenal mentor, too. He's a great human being.
Last two, we'll go to the back.
Coach Frank Clark said that he feels like you guys have always kept it real with each other. Talk to us about your personal relationship with him, and you feel like he's someone that you've been able to always just give it to straightforward, not sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, that's the way he wants it. He wants you to shoot him straight. So we've always had that, even when he came up and visited out of college. He spent some time kind of close to where I grew up, and we know some similar people, some of the same people, and it's shoot him straight.
Speaking of relationships, I guess we're going to talk to Travis today. You guys will be forever linked. It's one of your first picks here in Kansas City. You've known his family for a long time. I know you're close with a lot of your players, but maybe explain how close, maybe the closer you are, how different it is with your relationship with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, I mean, he came here when we came here, and I knew him before that because of his brother. Great family. He was a little wilder than his brother, right? A little wilder. But I knew that. So when Doris ended up drafting him, we he and I had our little conflicts, but he's a great kid. He's got a big heart. He always has had that. And he loves to play the game. And he's grown up just a ton. I'm proud of him the way he handles himself today. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, there is Andy Reid, Dick Vermeil going into the Hall of Fame later on this week, and starting off the press conference talking about Orlando Brown. And is he there? He hasn't talked to him. He'll see when he's going to practice, when he's ready to go, and then eventually just cutting it off and saying, when the fish is in the boat, I'll let you know. Of course, I like Stephen St. John saying, well, then how important is it for the fish to be in the boat and, get rolling? And he said, it's hard to mimic game speed, pads, and things like that when you're doing it on your own. So obviously it is important for him to be there. And then Frank Clark moving fast, the conditioning drills and tests, he was at the front. So good to know. Good to know dropping that 12 to 15 pounds in the offseason has worked out well for him. And the heart-to-heart that he and Andy Reid had, where apparently Andy Reid told him, like, WTF, man. If you want to keep playing, you better figure some stuff out. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, I know we'll probably hear that audio later, but if you missed it over the weekend, it's really interesting. Audio from Frank Clark about that conversation. It is a very interesting place for a player to be late in a big contract. His first big contract, his second team, kind of at that point in your career where you're either about to be a guy who maybe gets a call from a team right around when they're about to kickstart training camp, as opposed to being a guy who was brought in as the shining star of a pre-draft class, a first-round pick, a huge contract. And even Clark talked about, like, both of them being from the L.A. area, being Clark and Andy Reid. Like, they're going to keep it real with each other. And even today, like, Andy Reid uses the word endurance. I don't think that's by accident. I think that Andy Reid knows that Frank Clark has not had that endurance that he had in Seattle during his time in Kansas City, in part because of things like real medical issues, pinched nerves, and digestive stuff. Not to make excuses or to say, hey, this is okay, but there has just been a lot around Frank Clark. Some of it within his control and some of it out of his control. I think it's an interesting point in his career right now.
Travis Kelce.
Camp today. What's the importance of that he's going to be here ready to work and not hold out?
I mean, that's one of our leaders right there. And everybody in this building loves Big O. And hopefully we get him here and get him acclimated as soon as possible. We know it's definitely been a little bit different of a just locker room. It's such a big dude, such a big personality, man. Brings a lot of life to the group, so we'll be happy to have him back.
Practice today. I mean, pads on. What's that feeling like? And get everybody acclimated to the season.
Pads on. Sun was out. It was a dog day, man, but we got through it. We got a lot of work in, and we got a lot of things to learn from. And that's every day in training camp. Once you set the tempo of how we work here, Coach Reed's done it through OTAs, and we've had a lot of guys, especially the newer faces here in OTAs and throughout training camp. Everybody's just kind of hit the ground running. And right now we're finding ways to keep getting better every day.
Several new receiving targets. I just want to know what are your observations of the group?
I love what I'm seeing, man. I love what I'm seeing because they're all working their tail off, and we're having success with getting in sync with the quarterbacks. And it's not just the new faces like Quez and Juju. It's everybody in the second and third groups that are coming along. And same in the tight end room. You just see guys keep elevating their game, and it's just been fun to watch.
Been with him since he's been here, Travis Patrick. Just what's it been like from your vantage point? Kind of already knowing exactly what he wants to see him, how to sort of relay that information to the new receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I can help relay it to him. Same thing with this offense and me being here for my 10th year with Coach Reid. There's certain things that just stand true in this offense. And obviously it's grown since 1-5 has been here, but I think it's a little bit more friendly of an offense than a lot of guys have been in. And with that being said, there's that means we need to get those reps so guys can kind of, I don't want to say bend the rules, but feel the nuances of what this offense can bring to their game.
When you call it a friendlier offense, can you elaborate on that, what you mean by that?
It's not as much paper lines and there's not as much, rules. It's more of a discussion. Coach Reed's, done a great job of listening to players as well as, he's got 51%, so he knows how this thing, works best. And so keeping a good, control over that and being able to give us as many routes from everywhere on the field, I mean, that's just an advantage. A lot of guys don't get the opportunity to be inside, outside, in the backfield in other offenses, and that's what you get here.
Travis, a little banged up right now, but Jody, prior to the quad stuff, looked like the same guy to you. After
100%, and he's getting better. As he grows and gets his body back into the endurance that you need as a football player, as we all do. He just tweaked something the other day, I believe, and he'll be back out there working his tail off as we know Jody does. And mentally, just being more familiar with this offense, how to run certain routes versus certain defenses. That's the biggest thing, getting all the reps that you can so that you feel comfortable doing that.
You stuck around for 10 years with Reed. What's that journey been like, and I guess what's left?
It's a blast, man. I don't see myself going anywhere else, man. He makes the game fun. He makes the game easy on a lot of us. And on top of that, we know he's giving it his all. I joke about it all the time. I never see his car move from the parking lot up at Arrowhead, but definitely not here, man. He's doing everything he can to set us up for success, and I'm just very appreciative of that.
He says you're wilder, always been wilder than your brother. Is that the case?
My brother has way more of a temper tantrum, or anger management than I do. I like to enjoy myself a little bit more, but yeah, we both have different wild sides to us.
Speaking of your brother, you guys are wearing the new Guardian deal. Did you see he put the bubble wrap on his Guardian cap?
Yeah, you guys thought I was a prick. He's the stubborn one, man. But he's funny, man. It was a funny, funny gesture. I think that the Guardian caps are silly. I think we're just out here wearing mushroom helmets that are doing nothing but just adding weight to our heads. So hopefully we can get rid of those so we don't have to wear them again.
I talked to Clyde last week and asked him about who he leans on the most, and he said he leans on you. You guys live by each other. He's always at your house.
That's my guy, man.
How is that mentorship going between you guys?
Oh, man, it's just a brotherhood. Clyde's been nothing but great people to anybody that he's ever talked to. He's one of those guys that just gives off good energy, and he wants to work and he wants to be great. And who doesn't want that as their teammate right there, man? And everybody's going through stuff on the field, off the field, and we've worked on a lot of mental health stuff here in the building. And I've tried to get back to the University of Cincinnati and even talk more about this back home where I'm from. It's a big thing for men to be able to talk and speak their feelings especially to the ones next to them, and be vulnerable in those moments. But that's what being a brother is. That's what mentorship is. That's what being a good teammate is in my book.
Players doing that, just express themselves.
I try and have it, ooze out of people, be that friendly force, and hopefully everybody else picks up on it. But I think it's more of a discussion now than it has been before.
Because of your brother, I know that you probably watch centers around the league as well. In that frame of reference, just how does Creed maybe stack up with Jason, and what are maybe some of the things Jason has said about Creed?
I'll tell you what, they're both stone cold, man. That dude, Creed, he's a war dog, man, and doesn't matter what the situation is, you're going to get him standing in the front, holding his ground. And that's the type of leader you want up front, man. A guy that isn't scared of a damn thing and can go and bang with the best of them. And sure enough, Creed's done an awesome job just in his first year, and I can't wait to see what he does this year.
So many young players in the linebackers, the secondary going up against, McDuffie, you've got Bolton and Gay, and it seems like an upgrade in athleticism. How much of a difference has it been going up against those guys in camp so far as opposed to past years?
Well, I mean, Spags' defense isn't easy to learn, so they're getting challenged both mentally and physically right now, especially with the type of talent that we have on the offensive side of the ball. So everybody's working and everybody's playing fast and physical, and that's what you need. You just need confident football players out there, and the more that they get acclimated with this defense, no doubt the Spags are going to have these guys flying around playing great football. And we got some dogs up front, man. We got some good guys up in the front line, especially Carl Loffagus getting in there, throwing his heavy hands around. And it's just been cool, man. It'll be good when we get Carlos in here and kind of get the whole bunch together.
A lot of the new tight ends getting contracts around the league and everything. You moved some money around to get you maybe a little bit more money early in your deal. How important was it to you, to the Chiefs, that they made that gesture and did that?
I think it's just another reason why I love being here, man. I've done everything I can to do things the right way, both on the field and in the community, and I'm going to continue to do that. They know that, and they know what type of player they're going to get, what type of leader they're going to get in this building, and also in the community. And I think that I don't know, I'm just extremely appreciative of it, that they would even think about it or try and put something together. And I just, just another reason why I go out here and play my tail off for this city and this organization.
It's rare now, but is that a goal for you? Do you think about playing your entire career and being only a member of the Chiefs?
I don't plan on playing anywhere else, brother. Hope the Chiefs have that in mind too.
10 years in, do you still look forward to first day of pads just like you did when you were younger? Or?
I feel like I always look forward to the first day here because it just starts the new journey. Pads are a part of that. It's not really, a groundbreaking day for me. I've already been working my tail off, playing physical and things like that. You just throw the pads on to get a little bit more into the run game and things like that. So it's just, for me, it's just another step in the process. I'm excited to be out here because I can focus on nothing but football. Don't got to worry about anything else going on in the world.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
Have a good one, guys.
Travis Kelce out at training camp. We'll hear from Elijah Lee and also Michael Dana, and talking about Orlando being a leader and getting him in there, loves the personality, his role in relaying different things to different players, and then saying that the offense for Andy Reid is a little more
what's it mean to you to be
friendly?
able to put on that red and white?
More friendly now?
You know, it
We'll
means a
figure
lot.
out what that
You know,
is.
growing up from the stadium, I went to high school in Blue
somebody's at the
Springs, so I was
podium right
15
now.
miles
Elijah Lee
east
or
of the
Mike Dana,
stadium.
I bet
Either
there's-
one.
Just riding by, you wish and
Like
hope
either of them?
to be in this position. And now that I'm in it, I'm
defensive player
thankful.
at the podium
You know,
right now.
it's a blessing, and I got to take advantage of the opportunity.
Are there certain players that you looked up to? Did you have a favorite player when you were growing up in Kansas City from the Chiefs?
You know, Jamal Charles, you know, he was a home run hitter. You know, that's somebody you're excited to watch the games. But being a defensive guy, Derek Johnson. And he went to Texas, played in the Big 12. I played in the Big 12. So, you know, watching a backer like that and all the amazing things he did, that was kind of crazy. And then watching Tamba Ali and Justin Houston coming off the edge, you know, that was a special defense.
You've been in the league a little while. You have some young guys that you're next to, Willie Gay and Nick Bosa. How much are they leaning on you to, pick your brain?
You know, they ask me questions a lot, but at the same time, I tell them I'm new into the system, so I need to rely on you guys too. And if we're all on the same page, we can never be wrong. So even if we're wrong and we're all doing the same thing, you know, it all looks good together.
You're new to the system. This is kind of a complex scheme, but if I'm not mistaken, you've been working with the ones since OTAs.
Yeah.
How surprising is it if you're able to grasp what Spags wants you to do, and then you are emerging as that guy?
You know, as a vet, you take advantage of every opportunity. You know, there's no excuses whenever you're a vet. And, you know, that's kind of what you harp on to the younger guys. Like, it's time to catch up. Like, it doesn't matter what year you are. If they draft you, they're bringing you into play, even undrafted, bringing you through free agency. You just got to take advantage of it, put extra hours in and ask questions. Like, for me, I ask a lot of questions. And it's not that I don't know, it's just reassurance that I know.
Throughout your career, you've been mostly special teams, but now it looks like you had that opportunity to actually open the season as a starter. How much do you relish that opportunity?
You know, you relish it. I don't know how this thing's going to shake out. I'm just going to put my best foot forward. And at the same time, some people say I've just always been special teams, but at the same time, early on in my career, I was relied on to play early. So I know what it takes to be in that position to take advantage of the role, however it shakes out. You know, wherever I can help, I'm going to put my best foot forward.
Being from Kansas City, was it always maybe somewhere where you at least want to spend a season or two of your career along the way?
You know, growing through this process, you hope that you can play for the home team. But at the end of the day, I'm just thankful for a job. And I'm thankful to keep prolonging my career and keep stacking years. You know, that's what it's all about. Some people joke around, it's a not-for-long league. And, you know, to stay around this long, it's a blessing.
What's the right time for this opportunity?
I think I was able to mature. Being out on my own, young, you know, I left college at 20. And I'm only 26, so I'm still young in the real world. But in football, I'm kind of old because I'm in my 6th year. So now I've had the opportunity to grow up, be able to say no from far away. So now that I'm home, it's like, if you didn't support me while I was on the road, you know, it's hand in hand. Whenever I'm home, I appreciate the support. But the people that was there for me, I hold that to a high standard.
How much of that appreciation of special teams come from your time in Kansas State? Because very few colleges, you know, focus on special teams the way that the Wildcats do.
You know, that's an advantage for me. Coach Schneider, great coach, Hall of Fame coach. You take advantage of every opportunity. Doesn't matter if you're starting, special teams, however you do it, you put your best foot forward. And I'm a strong believer, your work on special teams puts you in position to play on defense or offense.
You start to get a lot more requests now that you're back home all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah, you know. Yep. People pulling me every which way, and I'm like, man, I got to take advantage of this opportunity. I got to go get this job first. This isn't, you know, handed to me. I'm a guy trying to earn my spot, and I do that each and every way. So whichever my role is, you know, I'm going to take advantage of that, and then we can talk after that. But right now, it's all about the work.
Elijah, Travis just a minute ago was talking a little bit about, you know, the importance of speaking on mental health and highlighting that. I know when Mosaic approached you to be kind of their player spokesperson, mental health, highlighting that was a big motivation for you. I guess why was it important for you to kind of get with Mosaic and kind of highlight the aspects of mental health in sports?
For me, mental health is big. You know, as a child, not too many people know, I went to 15 different schools. So your mental health can be all over the place. You know, as a kid, you're always asking why and trying to understand. But once you grow up and learn the right nutrition, the right mental health can take you further. You know, but those free lunches at school aren't always the best. So now you're going through a whole day kind of groggy as a kid. But whenever you eat the right things, have the right mental health, stay positive, I could do this, and not taking no for an answer, that could put you, the sky's the limit.
I know one of those schools was St. Joe Central. What does it mean, just being back in St. Joseph? What kind of memories does that bring?
It brings back a lot of memories because in high school, my freshman, sophomore year, we used to come over here, and I was a towel boy, give the water. So, I got to, hand over a towel to like Tom Ali, Justin Houston. I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. So now to come back to be in this position, be able to give back, help in the community wherever I can, this is a great opportunity.
Day now, were some of those guys that you recognize there out there today when you were just talking about?
Yes, Neil Smith, I actually went to high school with. He has a son, I think 2 years younger than me. And then my sister's best friends with one of his daughters. So, that's a familiar face. Some of the guys growing up, I had family from Chicago, so I was a big Chicago fan. They were rocking at that time, Peanut Tillman, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, all those, Julius Peppers, all those guys. So, growing up and trying to get familiar with it, it's starting to come along.
Thanks, everyone. Now that you've had some time in this defense and learned a little bit more about it and everything, how do you feel like it suits you? What do you feel like that Spags does that really suits your skill set?
Run around, fly around. We call it an attitude defense. So we're going to bring our attitude. That's our playing style. We take advantage of every opportunity. We're coming to work hard. There's no individuals. We work as a unit.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you. Usually local product, Blue Springs, Kansas State, and now with the Kansas City Chiefs, his hometown team, and a team that he watched growing up and in high school and things like that, and part of the linebacking core overhaul and bringing in Jermaine Carter and Elijah Lee and Lee Chenal and some good stuff there from Elijah Lee. I want to get into that, but here's Mike Davis.
Oh, of course, making the game slow down, man. So, in the sense of pre-snap keys, O-line indicators, working my eyes. Then from fundamentals and technique, I did a lot of pass rushing, man, a lot of flipping the hips, a lot of power, working a lot of speed. It's a combo of things, and also from the run standpoint, man, anchoring down, being able to hut your feet, play the box, read blocks, But the biggest thing for me was just, reading pre-snap keys, so I can get a jump on the snap or, an advantage when it comes to snap of the ball.
Has Coach Joe brought to the room that maybe is a little bit different than previous seasons?
Coach Joe brought a lot of grit, man. He's bringing it out, bringing it out a lot of us, man. And fundamentals and technique, man. He's a master of what he do, and he coached a lot of great guys, man. So just being able to have him as our coach is, a great thing for our D-line room, man. He's probably one of the best in the game, man. Our D-line is doing great right now. A lot of improvement.
Clark talked about some changes he made over the offseason. What have you seen differently from him in camp, whether it's physically or mentally? Does he seem more focused, or what have you seen?
Yeah, he's locked in, man. This is probably the most locked in I've ever seen him. He's, getting everybody integrated, communicating, so the whole D-line's working together. And I think that's the biggest thing, having chemistry on the D-line so you can have success and be able to, push guys and stuff. I think he's doing a great job doing that, and he's being a leader, man. So we look up to him, and, he's a great football player.
You noticed today, Mike, with the pass being on, just finally able to, do football as close as you can to the real thing?
Yeah, it was great, man. Putting the pass back on was great. Everybody's competing. Everybody's, trying to win the job, and it's a lot of grit out here. So we put the pass on. It was a lot of banging, and, I'm looking forward to coming back tomorrow.
You put an emphasis on trying to get better at the pass rush. They draft Karlaftis. They've added Carlos. He'll be out here. Frank lost weight and changed his diet. And all the work you put in, what's the upside from the edge rushers? Because obviously that's something that the team wanted to get better at in the offseason.
Well, listen, we're all trying to have a career year. We're all trying to do what we got to do. And when it comes time for that, man, all we can do is just rush the passer and listen to what Coach Joe taught us, apply it to the game, and come out here and work on it every single day. And it's about getting better every day, man. We got to work on our craft and do what we got to do to make our pass rush better and have that chemistry so, when it comes time in the season, we can be rolling, man.
We get to see George out here, but how is he behind the scenes maybe acclimated to the room with you guys?
Oh, he's a great kid, man. I got a lot of respect, a lot of love for the Rook, man. He came, man. He understood the playbook. He's a true student of the game, man. I see he want to learn. He works hard. He has a lot of heart and effort. So I like playing with him, man. He brings the young dog out of me. So it felt like it's just great playing with all them guys, man. I'm excited to get Dunlap in the room, learn from him, and all the additions we're looking forward to, seeing what we all can do together. Absolutely, man. Having a career year, 5+, 6+ sacks, having, being a dominant force for the D line, for the defense. I think everybody this year is expecting to have a career year because how much work we put in through the spring, through the this summer camp. So everybody's having high expectations, and like I said, this is the time we get better and stack them days so we can have them career years and do what we got to do.
Mike, what has Joe Cohen been like as the new D line coach for you? What's the experience like with him?
Oh, it's great, man. He makes us work hard. He asks us how hard we can play, man. So that brings a lot of effort. He brings a lot of grit to us, and it's a lot of attitude, man. A lot of dudes is playing with a lot more intensity and a lot more physicality, and as a D line, that's what we need.
Mike, I remember back when you were drafted saying that they like the idea of you from a versatility standpoint. Are there chances with Joe to maybe move inside to sort of have some spots where you can play versus just?
Oh yeah, man. See, we was doing that in the spring. We got a little taste of that in the spring where I was doing a little 2-eye, 3-tack, 5-tack, 6-tack, dropping back. So the more you can do, man. I'm just trying to do the best I can wherever the coach plugged me. Understand the playbook, understand what the dude next to me is doing. Just in case he go down, I got to move there, so I got a good understanding. But all of that is great, man. I just want to be use the best I can.
What are your thoughts on Karlaftis so far? Just coming in training?
Oh, he's great, man. He's real physical, has a lot of effort in him. He got a dog in him that, he keeps competing, keeps coming back every single play. So that's great to see from a young guy. And I'm excited to see, about the preseason starting in the next 2 weeks or next week. So looking forward to see what he can do.
Two of the veteran leaders on the defensive side, Hitch and Matthew, moved on from last year. You got guys like Frank, Chris Jones, and Nick Bolton stepping up, bringing Justin Reed. What's the leadership like on the defensive side of the football, trying to replace two veterans like you have to?
We all just try to keep each other up, man. Where it's all about 11 guys on the field, and the individual leadership is showing through these days where it's tough and it's hard. You got Willie back there, you got 9-5 in the middle. Everybody's vocal, everybody's trying to keep each other up. It's a different year. It's a lot of new additions, and we're looking to have that same fight, that same competitive spirit, if not more. Like I said, it's a lot of grit that's being brought to the table between the guys. So everybody's trying to make a point. Everybody's just trying to have that team chemistry and that bond, just in case, when things get rough, things get hard, we fall back on each other, fall back on our leaders, and, they keep us strong together.
Anything else?
We talked to a couple of other guys about kind of the importance of talking about men's mental health. Do you feel like there's a stigma where men are kind of ashamed to talk about that because you're trying to be like a tough guy or anything like that? How important do you think it is that you and your teammates open up about that stuff and are willing to be there?
Mental health is serious, man. It's a serious thing off the field. A lot of guys try to flamingo it and just try to just leave it on the table and kind of act like we're men. We can just deal with things. But, you fall back on your brother sometimes. You got to be able to talk to somebody and vent to somebody, Holding it in isn't good for everybody. I've tried myself to express more to my family, my friends. Something's on my chest with my teammates. I talk to them. It's just about having the communication and the chemistry to, be able to be comfortable to have those conversations and to take that next step. So mental health is serious. So we take it very serious here. We got, one of the best therapists in the game on our team, and Dr. T, and he's a great guy. So if anybody, need it here, you guys can holler at him.
Any last question? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, there's Mike Dana, Elijah Lee, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid talking before that as well. So Mike Dana weighing in on the Chiefs' defensive line, some players there, leaders as well, and Frank Clark. We'll take a timeout. We'll get into some stuff from Mike Dana, Elijah Lee, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. A number of things to take away there. We'll talk about that. Hear some more from Frank Clark from Saturday's press conference. Other things to get into as well. Orlando Brown reported to camp today. If you were just tuning in and did not know, Orlando Brown is there in St. Joe. And Deshaun Watson suspended for 6 games. The NFL has 3 days to respond in writing if they want to appeal that. I'm assuming that'll be the case.
They have released a statement just about a minute ago.
Okay.
No official word yet. Either side could appeal within 3 days.
True.
No appeal yet either direction.
But the NFLPA has said they will not appeal.
Correct.
Although Deshaun Watson's camp, according to Josina Anderson, is not happy about the 6-game suspension.
They should be thrilled about the 6-game suspension. They're not
NFLPA
happy.
came out and said they are not going to appeal before the decision was released, which you knew. Then they were like, cool. We feel good about this. So the NFLPA likes what the suspension was and felt like it wasn't over the top. And Deshaun Watson's camp is not on the same page. And we'll see if Roger Goodell is also not on the same page if the NFL decides to appeal, which means the appeal will go to then Roger Goodell to decide how long the suspension would be. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. All of that stuff to get into. We'll talk some baseball with Craig Brown, Mick Shaffer as well. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hey, you're in the room all by yourself, dude.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
No, you're all right. That's okay.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got Craig Brown into the Fountains newsletter coming up at noon. We'll talk some Royals with him as the trade deadline coming up tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central Time. If any of the Royals players get moved, the Atlanta Braves have made a move for an infielder. And they have also DFA'd Robinson Cano.
Bring him home.
The infielder, I don't remember the name. I just know that the Braves traded Trey Harris to the Nationals. So a name that those listening to the Zone will be familiar with, but Trey Harris. Best of luck to him with the Nationals organization. As the Kansas City Chiefs up in St. Joe, first padded practice today. Andy Reid was asked multiple times at the beginning of his press conference about Orlando Brown. His response of when the fish is in the boat, I'll let you know. But he is there in St. Joe going through conditioning, his physical test that he has to pass, all of those things before he can get out there on the field and play and participate. So that was a part of Andy Reid's press conference, probably the one that one thing most people were interested in to hear what Andy Reid had to say. Travis Kelce. Kelce was interesting because he talked about the friendly offense from Andy Reid.
I love that.
And it kind of felt like he was saying, like, this is more friendly than in Andy Reid's offenses in the past, as opposed to, like, player friendly that, you know, because he did start talking about later on in the, you know, you can line up inside and outside. You got different roles. You got different things you can do. That sounds player friendly, but the way that he started it made it sound like this year was different than in years past. Did you get the same thing? Did I hear that correctly? Was he talking about just this year seems to be more or maybe easier, maybe more basic with the guys coming in?
I think he said that it's a friendlier offense than most of these guys have been in.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that's him opening that up to say, hey, if you're Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Juju Smith-Schuster, this might be the friendliest offense you've ever played in.
Yeah.
And I just started scribbling things down as he was talking there because that has been something that he opened my eyes to a few years ago. I think it might have been before the Chiefs-Titans AFC Championship game.
Okay.
It was in the bigger press room when they were doing press conferences. And it was the first time that I remember, where Travis Kelce talked on the record about changing a play on the fly, which has since become kind of a phenomenon. And then it happens against the Bills where you have the clip of the audio on the sidelines. That's something I asked. You guys played it back on the Zone before I was officially here with you. But whenever I talked to Kelce a couple of weeks ago, I asked about the idea of becoming fully comfortable in Andy Reid's offense.
Yeah.
Because once you have mastered it, you can do things. He even said in this clip in the presser today that he almost said you want to learn the rules to break the rules. And he said, well, I don't want to, you can tinker, you can bend the rules. There aren't as many, I think he said paper lines. I've never heard that phrase before. I'll start using it.
Not as many paper lines, there are more rules.
Right.
Which is interesting because the more rules would sound more specific and more of less sort of freelancing.
Think about it as like rules in math, like a lot. Like I think Andy Reid's offense.
I'm not going to do that.
I think Andy Reid. You're good with the numbers. I think Andy Reid's offense has a logic to it, and when you understand the logic, you can begin adjusting with it as you go. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have a master's degree in Andy Reid's offense. If you're Sky Moore or MVS or Juju, you're trying to get your bachelor's right now, but if you can
trying to get your associates.
That's true. You're trying to get your GED right now. You gotta get your GED
absolutely.
in Andy Reid's offense. I feel like I'm in Andy Reid's like maybe second grade. Like I know my alphabet a little bit, but that might be the extent of it because Andy Reid's not teaching me.
I'm in Andy Reid's pre-K and it's costing $1,200 a month.
It is a special school for sure. But yeah, I found that very interesting because it just immediately to me connected to all these other times where anytime you can get a guy like Kelce juxtaposed with a new guy talking about Andy Reid's offense, Kelce talks about it like it's a gift. Like, hey, you step in and you're going to be maximized into Andy Reid's offense. I think a lot of rookies come in and go, holy bleep, whoa, I didn't learn. Sky Moore didn't learn this at Western Michigan. There's a learning curve, but I can see how it benefits everybody And I love it whenever Travis Kelce gives us another little glimpse on Andy Reid's offense.
So the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of the being able to create on the fly. You mentioned after that Houston Texans divisional round game where the great comeback and one of the best feelings of watching Chiefs football in a long time heading into that Titans AFC Championship game, which we know what happened in that one, and then the 49ers Super Bowl, and then winning the whole thing. The next year, when the run it back tour, when they win all of those games, the starters are 14-1, and then end up losing in the Super Bowl. So the starters go 16-2 that year overall in games. One of those losses was the Raiders. The other one was the Bucks. And the Raiders game, when Mahomes had the interception that resulted in the return down to the 1-yard line, Josh Jacobs' 1-yard touchdown, and that was kind of the game at that point for the Chiefs. And Kelce, because it was during COVID at that time, there was no post-game press conference with Kelce. And then it wasn't for another couple of weeks that Kelce talked with the media. And then he went back to that play and talked about how mad he was and that he cost him the game because that interception was his fault. And nobody really asked him about it because we didn't know. Right. He had talked about it from some other question and said that, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He read it one way, and even though he read it the way, he still changed it on his own, going against what would be typical of what he was supposed to do there. And going back and watching that, I think it was pretty obvious he was supposed to go underneath the linebacker, which would then draw the safety over towards him. Instead, he went over the linebacker, which then flattened or made the route more up the field, which then attracted the safety over in that area, and then he was able to intercept the ball as opposed to being out of the area covering Travis Kelce. That's the drawback to where you can kind of ad-lib on your own, and he decided to go off script there. And when the interception happened, you can go back and look at the video, like Kelce's so mad at himself.
Yeah.
Because he knew it immediately that was his fault, that he was not supposed to be there. Maybe it was just a brain cramp at that time. But those are the things to where obviously more good than bad, I would expect, have happened over the years. That how many guys with the offense right now, Juju, MVS, Clyde, are going to feel the confidence of, I know I'm supposed to run this way, but the way I'm reading it here, I'm going to ad-lib underneath, and Mahomes is going to see that too, because we've been working together, and that's one of the things that he talked about is just trying to get in sync, the quarterbacks and the wide receivers, the work they're putting in, doing that. That's a big part of it because you do have some flexibility in Andy Reid's offense, and that is a part of being on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. Kelce and Mahomes seem to be in concert. Tyreek and Mahomes had that.
Yes.
Are the other guys going to have that? How quickly do they have that? That's going to be a big question.
I think that's the exact sliding scale because again, if you take Kelce talking about it in the light of the new guys, if you're Sky Moore or Juju or MVS, one of the new guys, you could just come in and be the receiver who is slotted into what Andy Reid wants you to do, and you're going to get a nice contract next offseason if you can just simply do that. Just be the guy executing Andy Reid's plan, and you will have a long NFL career with millions of dollars at the end of it. But if you graduate to those higher levels in this class, and this is the logic for me of why I entered training camp being the guy that's saying, hey, pump the brakes on Sky Moore, but buy his stock for the long term, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey,
I don't know.
Maybe buy now, I guess. I don't know. I don't regret my hesitance because I feel like I'm just trying to be fair to Sky Moore, but it seems like the hype train is chugga-chugga. I think that sliding scale of you can be successful as a cog immediately. You could become a Hall of Famer once you feel this offense. That I think you're 100% right. Kelce and Hill are those guys. Frankly, I don't know that Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle ever became one of those guys despite being in the offense for quite a while. So it's not an assured thing. It's just another thing that I think makes Travis Kelce obviously special.
Yeah, and also Karlofagos.
It rhymes with esophagus. Most people don't know that.
Or Snuffleupagus.
Wow, can we call him
esophagus,
holy cow.
Snuffleupagus.
I don't want to. I'm not here to make fun of anybody's name, so I don't mean it as that. But if we start calling him George Karloftis the Snuffleupagus, or just George Snuffleupagus, I would really enjoy that. You're like a big woolly mammoth at the edge. That's a compliment. I think that's right. If he leans into that branding, I want to help support it.
It's a lot of love for Karlaftis on the defensive line and the defensive players overall. Frank Clark loved up some George Karlaftis, and then Mike Dana today talking about George Karlaftis that quote, he brings the young dog out in me.
A lot of dog talk today.
Boy, there's some dog.
This pass rush needs some woofing.
Karlaftis is a dog. That's what we've heard. And then I enjoyed hearing from Elijah Lee as well. That guy, you want to talk about living out a dream of like every elementary and junior high and high school kid in the area, that him talking about, watching Jamal Charles and Derek Johnson, and then he was a towel boy when he was in St. Joe for training camp, and seeing Tamba and Justin Houston and giving them towels as they were sweating, and went to high school with Neil Smith's son and all of that stuff. That living out that dream of like people like you remember watching your favorite football players for your team, and then now he's wearing that Chiefs uniform, which is awesome. Really and then talking about the mental health aspect of it, that I didn't realize that his upbringing, and talking about going to 15 different schools, and now embracing the mental health aspect of that, and talking about those things in his press conference. So I enjoyed that as well. I hope he makes the team. The linebacking core is certainly different, and Jermaine Carter's a part of that. They draft Leo Chenal. Demetrius Harris is returning. We know about Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. Then throw in Elijah Lee.
There's no way Demetrius Harris is returning. I don't know who you even meant to say, but there's no way Demetrius Harris is on this team, right? If I missed that signing, I apologize. That's one of the funniest names you could have mentioned.
Definitely not Demetrius Harris. But, what's his name?
I'm sorry. Are you still on the linebackers again?
Yes.
Then now I'm going to be the bleep hole because I forget the name briefly of Jermaine Carter. I wanted to call him Jermaine Johnson, and that's also a different
Jermaine
person.
O'Neal.
Boy, the two of us, maybe combined, we'll get someone's
Jermaine
first
Harris.
name.
Jermaine Harris. There it is. Jermaine. I'm joking. Is it Darius Harris? Linebacker?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a total like Freudian Demetrius Harris writing that down.
Sorry, yes, Darius Harris is still there. I thought you were trying to get to Jermaine Carter.
No. Jermaine Carter, Leo Chenal, Elijah Lee brought in. Darius Harris, not Demetrius Harris, returning along with Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. So you've got 6 guys there.
Demetrius Harris.
Is he playing linebacker now?
Currently a free agent, it appears.
Oh, the team needs a linebacker. Apparently he can do that too.
Don't count on him to pick anything off from the middle.
Damn it. That's where I was going.
You got me like 3 times last week. I gotta level this out. I gotta even out the score here. Obvious jokes.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
Hello, Kansas City. Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing here. There's a lot of noise about supply chain problems and inflation in the news. Unfortunately, it's true. There's no better time than right now to re-roof your house. Don't wait. Prices are expected to rise rapidly this year. By 2023, we expect the price of materials to double since 2021. If you call now, we can lock in pricing and save you a bundle. Call Easton Roofing for a free re-roof estimate. 913-257-5426. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Take a vacation from inflation at Zarda Barbecue. All month long, enjoy a pulled pork or sausage sandwich for only $6.99. Get it the way you want with any of your favorite Zarda sauces. Zarda Barbecue, come get some.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
For residential and commercial roofing repair and replacement, Gutters 2 in Kansas City and Lawrence, contact Buck Roofing and sleep well knowing that Buck replaced the roof over your head.
The second you walk through those iconic red doors, you know you're somewhere special. Fresh cut wood burning in the wood-fired grill and the sizzle of scratch kitchen ingredients fills your sense. Kansas City's best little upscale neighborhood joint. 6 Kansas City area locations: Brookside, Leawood, Liberty, Overland Park, Lenexa, and now Lee Summit. Get in here.
Stephen St. John here for my friends at Window Nation. Back to school time is here, and Window Nation can help you get an A+ in savings. Right now, get 2 free windows for every 2 you buy with 0% interest until 2024. That's like free scholarship money. Use it towards your kids' school supplies or treat yourself because your Window Nation savings will keep on coming. As temperatures soar, so do your energy bills with old, inefficient windows. Stay cool, lower those bills, and raise the value of your home with new Energy Star efficient windows. Window Nation has expertly installed over 1 million windows, increasing the value in over 150,000 homes. All with over 96% needing no follow-up service. That's an A+. Now it's your turn to make the smart choice and go to the head of the class. Call today at 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com and tell them Stephen St. John sent you.
Jayhawk fans, season tickets for the 2022 Kansas football season are on sale for as low as $185. We need you in the booth waving the wheat this fall and supporting Coach Leipold and the Jayhawks. Get your tickets now at kuathletics.com/tickets or by calling 800-34-HAWKS.
To the end zone. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
That's a secret to life. That's what I've always said, is always talk behind someone's back, never actually approach them and get to the heart of the issue.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 913-912-4810. I love the text to come in as saying Demetrius Harris instead of Darius Harris. Text says, Jason, you mean to say Darius Rucker. That's right. Another text says, damn it, Jason, it's Devon. Great throwback. Great callback there. Great callback. Another text says, incomplete Trius Harris. Wasn't it incomplete or drop Trius Harris? Or
no, I think
like
incomplete Trius is the best one. I think that's my favorite. It's not quite as good as Jason and Siderson, but
yeah, we need to drop that one.
Oh, okay.
Just like Demetrius Harris.
Hey, he's back.
Beat you to it.
Jason's here, everybody.
Yeah,
it's the Zone.
Darius Harris, not Darius Rucker. Hey, we've got
Darius Harris made me cry.
No, that was Darius Rucker.
Harris. Damn it!
And it was the Dolphins.
I screwed it up.
Let her cry.
Now I'm
Let
really
the tears flow down like rain.
Now I'm really coming for your throne. I got a name wrong on a joke.
That's right. The WHB 100-year celebration coming up August 11th at the Midland Theater. That is a Thursday. That is a week from Thursday. And we've got a pair of tickets to give away for what is going to be an awesome night celebrating sports and entertainment and broadcasting. We'll all be there, and St. John and Dustin Colquitt are hosts for the evening. They'll be emceeing and different things on stage with the on-air staff, other performances various times throughout the night, and giving away scholarship, raising money for some incredible charities, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Victory Project, ALS Association of Kansas City, and Sharewaves. Let's do caller number 8, 913-3810810. Caller number 8, you're going to get a pair of tickets to the WHB 100-year celebration.
Don't drop it.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. A lot of stuff to get into still here on the show as Orlando Brown has shown up to training camp. We'll see when he passes his physical and is out there on the practice field and all of that stuff and the conditioning. So he is there at training camp. Patrick Mahomes rolled his ankle this morning. There was a scare for about 4.5, 5 minutes on Twitter and live on the air. But all good for Patrick Mahomes. Some text that came in at the time. This text says that, hey, Josh, of course Mahomes has an ankle. Majority of people have ankles.
Didn't know my dad was listening.
There you go. That was the Herm Edwards, though. He used to. He's got a little bit of an ankle. He's dealing with a leg right now. He's got a knee. Okay, thanks.
I personally prefer that time he's got a little groin. I'm more of a Romeo injury report guy personally. But
another text says, guys, relax. It's not a big deal. Signed Adalberto Mondesi. Stop.
Don't do that.
Stop. Come on. Speaking of which, let's talk some Royals baseball. Okay. Craig Brown, Into the Fountains newsletter, intothefountains.substack.com, as the Royals do salvage a game there in New York. Craig Brown joining us here in the zone. Craig, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. I've got two good ankles, so if Mr. Mahomes needs one, I'd be happy to give one, I suppose.
He does not want either of my ankles. A lot of bad basketball and rolling them and landing on feet and never actually rehabbing them and just going out and playing again. And I'll deal with it later on. Well, I'm 42, dealing with it now. So he does not want those. They will continue to roll. Craig Brown, Into the Fountains. The Royals didn't really continue to roll after going on that 22-20 stretch and then getting shut out and losing 3 of 4 to the Yankees. But, Salvi's back. Let's start there. Salvador Perez has the surgery. We wondered how long he would be back or how long he would be out before he would be back and how long the Royals would if they would maybe take it a little more cautious with him this go-around. That was not the case. He returns 3 games, a couple of 3-run home runs, 7 RBIs. Salvi just does Salvi things. He's unbelievable and is a big part of this offense and shows why he was, most of the time the straw that stirred the drink.
The dude just is in beast mode, like 100% of the time. It's amazing. I mean, everything that I saw about that injury that he had said that it was going to take some time to not only heal, but to do like a rehabilitation program on it. And that, best case scenario might have been like, say, end of August. I mean, that's just like, what these doctors are saying. And, here Perez is coming back like almost a full month ahead of schedule. And, he did fine in his, minor league rehab stint, which was like, 2 games. And then he's, out in New York bashing home runs. And it's I don't think it's a coincidence that last week they were missing Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvi out of the lineup. They got shut out 3 games in a row. Not a surprise. And, Bobby Witt comes back. He, scuffled a little bit, over the weekend. But, like you said, Salvi is the straw that stirs that offensive drink. And, with him just being back in that lineup, it's not surprising then that they went on to score 15 runs over 3 games after getting shut out 3 games in a row. So, the offense just looks better with him there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a fact, and that the guy can get back on the field so fast. I mean, we say that he's superhuman, and he is, but let's also pay tribute to his work ethic, which is just off the chart.
Yeah. Visiting with Craig Brown, Into the Fountains, .substack.com, and the trade deadline coming up tomorrow. We'll see who remains on the Royals after that, but with the trade deadline, with Benintendi being traded, Carlos Santana being traded, a couple of players that have been called up, Vinny Pasquantino, Nick Pratto, injury to Bobby Witt, saw Michael Garcia, MJ Melendez when Cam Gallagher went down. And so we've seen these guys eventually called up and then stay around. What are you seeing from, and Bobby Witt up all year, these younger guys? It was, I talked about at the beginning of the show that we were going to talk with you, and you brought up at Into the Fountains that fifth inning where the younger guys, Pasquantino walk, a Prado or a MJ Melendez single, a Prado double, a Garcia double, and scoring those runs. And it was like these younger guys that are stepping up and making big plays and coming up with big at-bats there in Yankee Stadium. So as the season progresses, all of the focus has been getting to the trade deadline and then what happens after that. And I feel like starting Wednesday, really, I guess Tuesday night, but really Wednesday is about what did they do, who did they trade for, and then who's up with the team the rest of the way, and what do these young guys look like leading into 2023?
Yeah, really what I'd like to see is just kind of a consistent, let's say, defensive alignment for these guys. Let's have Prado at first. I know Melendez, as a catcher, isn't going to knock Salvi off that position, but Sal could use the rest. And, so a little split of time behind the plate, and then the rest of the time, let's have Melendez, I suppose, out in the outfield, because you got Pasquantino, who's going to be your designated hitter. But, some sort of consistency. I think that, really what needs to happen is kind of what we've seen over the last, few weeks is that these guys need to be in the lineup every single day. They need to get the regular reps. That fifth inning was like a microcosm of what we've seen from these guys, the approach. And I think that, they may have come to the organization as, disciplined hitters, but I really think that hitting program that Alex Zumwalt, Drew Saylor, and the staff in the minor league levels have put together is, really emphasized approach. And we're seeing that manifested at the major league level right now, that these guys fall behind 0-2, but they still battle. They fight off pitches that, aren't necessarily strikes, but they're protecting the plate, they're protecting the zone, and then they wait and then they get their pitch. Or they just, are able to lay off and work that count, jumping ahead to where, again, that forces the pitcher to throw a favorable pitch or, they're taking their walks. Melendez just saw a ton of pitches this weekend. Prado yesterday saw, I think, 6 pitches in every at-bat, except for one when he saw 5. It's new for the Royals. We haven't really seen that in the past, several years that Dayton Moore and J.J. Piccolo have been assembling these rosters. These are disciplined hitters, and as they improve, you would expect that the discipline will pay the dividends, which we would see in, on base percentage, on slugging percentage. This is an exciting crop of young players.
And in theory, getting to a team's bullpen quicker if they're seeing more pitches, like you talked about Nick Prado and all the pitches that he saw, in the game, visiting with Craig Brown. The defense one is, I don't know what to make of it. If it's just they're figuring it out and piecing things together until they get to the trade deadline, and then they can, after Tuesday, kind of go forward with what they feel like could be guys in the future. If Whit Merrifield's traded, as Michael Massey brought up, if Michael A. Taylor is traded, Isbell in center, and just trying to figure those things out. But it's difficult to, really believe a team can go and win a game and limit a team, no matter who's out there on the mound, unless you're Garrett Cole and you're striking out, 150 people. You've got a catcher in right field, a first baseman in left field, a first baseman at third base, and a DH playing first base. It's an interesting alignment defensively.
It's a roster loaded with first base DH types, and they're also rolling out there with basically 3 catchers, with Cam Gallagher on the roster as well. In the minor leagues, you got Michael Massey down there. You've got Drew Waters, who's looking really good since he came over from Atlanta in that trade. But Massey's not on the 40-man. Rivera, is in the minors as a third baseman. Maybe comes up and fills that hole, but that's not really the issue. As with all the first base DH types, it just feels like this. I don't know, man. I'm every time I sit down and try and figure it out, I get lost. I'm like, it's like, the rat in the maze. You're hitting a dead end. Well, that's okay. Whatever. That might work. It probably shouldn't, but okay. And then there's just no cohesion to what they've assembled. It feels like it's. You hope that with the trade deadline, about 28 hours away, that they are going to make some moves to kind of break up that logjam a little bit, which means that you're looking at the veterans. You're looking at moving a Hunter Dozier, which I think is highly unlikely, but they should be exploring it anyway.
Yeah.
Moving, even a Whit Merrifield to open up some space, or, as you said, Michael A. Taylor to open up the outfield space. The outfield picture could even get a little murkier, depending on the health of Olivares, who is currently on the injured list. So it just, there's a lot of kind of round hole, square peg thing going on with this roster right now that they really need to sort out over the next day, really, for the next couple of months.
If you're guessing right now, what's the future of MJ Melendez, or where is his future on this team? Is it right field, catcher, third base? Where would you guess that they're going to put MJ Melendez? Because Salvi ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, I would think that it could be maybe 75-25 Perez behind the plate with MJ, backing him up, but then. They got to keep his bat in the lineup, and so maybe that ends up being in that right field spot. I don't want to say that he can't play out there. He's looked okay at times. He's looked a little shaky other times, but that's probably the future again. And again, spelling him at DH a little bit. Which kind of goes against what I've just said, but that's where we are with this roster right now. There's no answer to really any question that you have. You'll talk yourself in circles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a trade sometime soon that it's going to be where they alleviate some of that and move some pieces around to not have a log jam and help out in another place that they are deficient and lacking of certain things. And you know what? If people feel like this is like 2012, and we'll see if that's the case, going into 2012, into 2013, in that offseason is when they made the trade for James Shields and Wade Davis, that they felt like they were there and younger guys coming up. So we'll see if that's this offseason or not. Trade deadline, who do you expect will be traded? Do they make another move before tomorrow at 5 o'clock?
I kind of broke down some names today at Into the Fountains, and as I was doing that, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that they pull the trigger on anything else. I think that they should. I think that they would be, better off if they moved a player like Whit Merrifield finally. Michael A. Taylor, has a little bit of value underneath him as he's performing, at a high offensive level for him that he's never performed at. The defense is still strong in center and is signed through 2023 since the Royals extended him last September. So that control would make him attractive to teams, and that's the same kind of thing with Merrifield. He's under contract through 2023 with that option for 24, which I don't think would be picked up no matter what, where he is. But so you're looking at a couple of guys with some control. Then look at the bullpen: Scott Barlow, Josh Stalmont, a couple of guys who have performed well for the team. But again, the Royals have been somewhat adept at forming a bullpen. The arms that they are able to kind of find on the cheap or through the draft have helped the bullpen out a little bit, and there's always a premium on bullpen help at the trade deadline because any contender needs more arms. So I'm thinking that if the Royals are talking to a team about a Merrifield or a Taylor, it would be really smart for them to package a Barlow or a Stalmont with a position player that they were looking to move, because that's only going to improve the return, because both those guys have plenty of years of control left, and would be a real benefit to add to a contending team's bullpen. So I think that if the Royals are serious about being transactional, there's a way to create a package with one or two teams that would net a decent enough return, a better return than what we saw for Benintendi from New York, where they pretty much chose quantity over quality, which isn't a bad route to go if you're going for the pitchers. But Benintendi is a rental. He's there for 2 months plus the postseason. Everyone else that we're talking about now is signed or under team control for several years, and so that's an opportunity to net yourself a decent prospect return at a time when teams are placing a high value on their prospects.
A couple of things from Mark Feinsand and his latest update and notebook of the trade deadline had mentioned Scott Barlow. He was going through the bullpen and different players that would be coveted by other teams. And Scott Barlow, who has team control through 2024, so you would get him this year and then 2 more years if a team is trading for him. Stallmont 1 more year this year and then next year as well. And he talked to a National League executive because they were saying the price tag of all these different players is abnormally high because of the number of teams that are quote-unquote still in contention and feel like they're still in contention. So teams are asking for a lot. The National League exec said as Tuesday afternoon gets closer, you would have to think those price tags come down. If they don't, we'll either see some big overpays or a lot of players that seem like locks to be traded remaining on their current teams. It's interesting because I don't know which is which. I think the Royals in the past have asked for too much with Whit Merrifield, and they've said, sorry, we're not going to trade him then. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing because, quite frankly, there were a lot of people that felt like that trade was underwhelming for Andrew Benintendi, that maybe they took under market. And then it's like, well, you see a rental player, he doesn't hit the ball out of the yard, these guys. And then you see the Mariners and Luis Castillo, and they've got 3 of the top 4 prospects from the Mariners organization that head to Cincinnati. So I don't know where this thing's going to shake out tomorrow. And then, Craig, Jeff Passan says everybody's sort of in a holding pattern waiting to see what happens with Juan Soto. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Juan Soto gets traded tomorrow at 3 o'clock and then everything goes crazy for the last 2 hours.
I don't know why Soto would be holding it up.
Agreed.
Honestly, because, the prospect return or the price tag is going to be astronomical, as it should be for Soto. But, there's only a handful of teams that can pay that kind of freight for that player. So,
and then pay the type of money that you would be paying the player.
Exactly. And so, that's a limited market there. I don't know why that would be holding anything up. Something that was interesting just before I came on is that the Cubs and the Yankees have swung a trade. Scott Efros, a reliever for Chicago, who has 5 years of team control.
Wow.
Who's done really well this year for the Cubs out of the bullpen. He's striking out over 10 batters per 9, walking less than 2.5 per 9. Just a really good reliever. And he's going to New York in exchange for Hayden Wesneski, who is a starting pitcher who is the 4th ranked guy from Baseball America, who was a guy that I'd kind of locked in on as like a potential Benintendi return.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at that for Benintendi, obviously I shot a little too high, but the Cubs, for a reliever with a lot of team control, get a really
top
quality
5 prospect.
pitching prospect.
Top 5 prospect for the Yankees. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So so you can look at that and you go, okay, that's the price for a reliever right now. So take a couple of years of team control off of a guy like Barlow, right? But Barlow has the track record in the majors, a little bit more established than the pitcher from Chicago. And so, are you looking at something, a little similar? Probably a little less, just given the team control. But still, you're in that neighborhood, I would have to think. So, we're looking at some elevated price tags for relievers, I think. And, the Royals would do well to get involved. I think, as you were saying, that there's a lot of teams still in the mix. There's still even some teams deciding probably at this moment whether to buy or to sell. With that extra wild card makes a big difference. And so, I would think that the Royals would be able to play off. I think if I had to guess, we'll see some high price tags on some of these players on actual trades that get executed rather than a lack of movement at the deadline.
Well, a big bullpen piece has just been moved as well. The Brewers and Padres have worked out a deal that Josh Hader has been traded to the Padres from the Brewers. So that's an interesting one. I would, boy, if
Milwaukee doing there?
If the Yankees are giving up their top 5 prospect for a reliever, what are the Padres giving up for Hader? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the Padres were like, we're just going to overpay. And Brewers are like, well, we can't say no to this. Everybody's available. If you blow us away, then, we'll trade somebody. And maybe that's what they got. We'll see. But the Cubs have done that before. Last year, Javier Baez, they threw in Trevor Williams with the Javi Baez deal. And Trevor Williams had another year of team control and was good for the Mets last year. He's got a 3 ERA this year for the Mets out of the bullpen. And because they threw him in there as well, they got, the number top 20 pick in the 2020 draft, and Pete, Crow Armstrong, who was a top 5 prospect from the Mets, who's now the number 33 prospect in all of baseball for the Cubs. And it just sometimes bullpen depth and relievers get you a pretty good price tag. I mean, Josh Fields or Josh, I can't remember who it was that brought back Yordan Alvarez to the Astros. It was a trade deadline for a reliever. That got Yordan Alvarez, or maybe it was off season. Either way, it was a reliever that brought back Yordan Alvarez. So you never really know what's going to happen with some of the bullpen pieces. So if the Royals, if bullpen arms are going for that, then I'm sorry. Love you, Barlow, but, time to find a new residence somewhere.
It is an absolute excellent way to, pump up the return. I mean, it is these arms are so volatile. Pitching, as an art is just kind of, it's these guys are walking a line every time that they go out there. So, if you can spin a guy like that, along with somebody to increase the return, like you were talking about in the Javi Baez deal, I mean, why wouldn't you? It makes a lot of sense, especially for a team that is in a clear rebuilding situation like the Royals.
Yeah, and Milwaukee, who's leading the Central by 3 games, has traded their star reliever, Josh Hader, to the Padres. So,
but the Brewers, are turning up pitchers left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, they are a team with a really good pitching development pipeline. So they've got guys lined. They're not making that deal if they don't feel confident in the guys that are behind him in the bullpen, and have to wait and see the kind of return.
Oh.
But I would expect that it's a
Here you go.
Completely outstanding return.
Here's the return. The return on Josh Hader is significant. They get left-handed closer Taylor Rogers from the Padres. They get pitching prospect Robert Gasser. They get Esteury Ruiz. And then also Dinelson Lamet. Yeah. Esteury Ruiz, he's a name that comes up a lot because that was part of the Trevor Cahill deal. People talked about that being Strom. But Esteury Ruiz was a 17-year-old that they traded, and he is just mashing in the minors. He's come up and with the big leagues for a couple of weeks now, and maybe that's how you want to know why you trade Josh Hader? There you go. You get a closer back, you get a couple of pitching prospects, and you get a guy who was turning into a top 30 prospect in all of baseball in Esteury Ruiz, who is just mashing as a 21-year-old. So
wow, that is a heck of a return for them. I mean, of course you do.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, we're not trading Josh Hader. Okay, we'll give you this. Still not going to do it. We'll give you this. I don't know. We'll throw in him. Okay, what are you going to do? Like, sorry, Josh. Enjoy San Diego. It's going to be nicer there in the offseason than it is here. So they said bullpen arms, the price is abnormally high. And so far, the 2 deals that have been done today have brought back a top 5 prospect for a reliever and then a star reliever in Josh Hader that has brought back a significant return to the Brewers. Interesting. If that's the case, man, boy, 5:15 tomorrow, and then the news stops coming in and Barlow and Stallman are still a Royal. We'd love to hear what might have been out there for them.
I was going to say a couple hours ago, I'm like, come on, what's up with this deadline? Nothing. Let's move. And now I'm like, this has potential to be like the greatest trade deadline ever. So let's go.
Yep.
That's some fantastic stuff.
Passan also throwing in that the Padres didn't give up any of the main prospects they've been talking about in a myriad of other deals. C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel III, James Wood, and Jackson Merrill all remain, as does Mackenzie Gore. The Padres could really pull off a Juan Soto and Josh Hader double. So that'd be interesting if that ended up happening for the Padres. So we'll see. That is the definition of going for it, taking all of your best prospects in your entire system that you've been building for a while and then turning that into some of the players they have. And if Juan Soto and Josh Hader are, a double trade guys coming over, that'd be really interesting. Craig Brown from Into the Fountains. Craig, we'll be watching and seeing what else is going to take place over the next, what is now 28 hours? 28 and a half hours?
28, 29 hours.
28 and a half, something like that. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Craig, you're the man. Really appreciate it, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me on today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. There's Craig Brown, Into the Fountains, intothefountains.substack.com. So as we're talking, as you mentioned, Cubs and Yankees pulling off a trade where the Yankees sent over a player that when Benintendi was traded, people thought, are they going to get him back for Benintendi? It's top five prospect for the Yankees. One of their top pitching prospects overall. That was not the case. The Royals went quantity over quality, and the Cubs went 1 for 1, and they got the Yankees' top five prospect. Their best pitching prospect is heading to the Cubs for a reliever, and some really good players heading to the Brewers for Josh Hader. So you hear that, it's just like they're leading the division by 3 games. What are you doing there? And then you see the return, and Milwaukee's like, what do you Hader's not having the best of years, He's still got 59 Ks in 34 innings. He's got a 4.5 ERA, but still 29 saves, only 12 walks to his 59 strikeouts in 34 innings. Pretty good player. And then you send back, you see. So yeah, they still got a closer back. Taylor Rogers has 28 saves this year with a 4.4 ERA. He's only got 48 strikeouts in 41 innings, so he's not the strikeout guy that Josh Hader is. But you're getting a closer back that's less of strikeouts, seems to be as effective with some really good prospects, and throwing in Esteury Ruiz, who so far in his young career in 14 games is batting .222, getting on base at .222, slugging .333 for a .556 OPS. 6 hits, a double, a triple, and a stolen base. So there you go. A guy that we've talked about a lot because he was just destroying minor leagues this year for the Padres, and a throw-in in that Royals Trevor Cahill deal that sent Strom to the Padres, and also him. So there you go. Some movement starting to happen on the trade deadline. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into some Chiefs. Again, Frank Clark, want to hear some clips from him for the weekend. And Deshaun Watson's penalty is 6-game suspension. And we'll see if the NFL is going to appeal. The NFLPA will not appeal. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Talked a lot of Royals today.
Sorry.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so a lot of stuff going on today. Day before the trade deadline in Major League Baseball, some NFL news out there, a scare there at training camp. So a lot of stuff to talk about. If you're just joining us, what has happened today? Orlando Brown has showed up to training camp in St. Joe. He is going through his conditioning tests, physical, things like that, and we'll see when he is out there on the practice field. Was not practicing today with the team. First padded practice for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes rolled his ankle for about 3.5/4/5 minutes. There was some concern. He went to the tent, did not go to the tent, then was going to go in the tent, then left, and then he was limping, and then finally he got taken to the tent, then came out, was holding his helmet, still with a limp, and then got back into quarterback drills before the practice was over, so all good there in St. Joe. Deshaun Watson has been suspended for the first 6 games of the season, and he remains eligible to practice and play through the preseason games, but will miss the first 6 games of the year. The NFLPA has already said that they will not appeal this decision. The NFL has put out a statement simply saying that the NFLPA and the NFL now have the right to appeal in writing within the next 3 days. The NFL is now gathering information and looking over everything to then make their decision. I can't imagine that they would not appeal. So we'll see what happens with the NFL and if Roger Goodell is going to get involved from that standpoint. And a huge trade in Major League Baseball. Josh Hader, all-star closer, heading from Milwaukee, who has a 3-game lead on the Central, and heading to the Padres, while the Padres send back their closer in Taylor Rogers and a few prospects as well, including Estory Ruiz heading to the Brewers. So it's starting. We'll see how crazy it gets, but it's starting. There have been some prospects that have been moved in the last couple of days. Padres to the Brewers got a pretty good haul, and the Cincinnati Reds for Luis Castillo from the Mariners got a pretty good haul, which people are talking about sort of changing the calculus of some of these trades that may take place in the asking price for some others. Kind of like in the NBA. When Rudy Gobert gets that, then it's like, well, that kind of changes things with Kevin Durant. When Luis Castillo, who's a damn fine player, but he brings that back, and then Josh Hader brings back this, and then the Cubs have one of their bullpen guys who's got a number of years of team control that brings back the Yankees' top 5 prospect for just the bullpen piece, not Benintendi in a bullpen piece, just the bullpen piece. I love you, Barlow. And the man bun, loved it, Stalmont. But I would really like to see you get a chance to play in the postseason. I'm thinking of you. I'd really like to see you go and play in the postseason, both of you. Barlow, great conversation that didn't get recorded a couple of Thursdays ago. It was awesome. And it would be the irony of life in that one of the things I was looking forward to talking to Barlow about was that he and his wife lived in a camper over the summer during the games, during the season. They would stay in the camper in Arkansas in the off season. Then they would drive to Arizona for spring training. Then they would drive to Kansas City, and that's where they lived. And so asked him about it, like, so, you guys still doing that? He goes, oh, no, we decided to buy a house this year. Life can sometimes come at you fast. That he'd been living in a camper the last 3 years with his wife. This is the year he decides, well, let's settle down and buy a house in Kansas City. And then, of course, that would be the irony of then being traded to wherever. But I hope for his sake he's playing in the postseason this year.
Here's a game I love to make Matt Derrick play. He hates it. I'm going to make you play it now.
Right, I hate it too already.
What's the percentage chance that you believe Scott Barlow is not on the Kansas City Royals a minute after the trade deadline?
The percentage chance he's not.
I'm going to say the percentage chance that the Royals do trade Scott Barlow before the deadline. Hold on. I have my number locked in.
8.10%.
You just make it 8.1. It's
it's
because that's the station.
It's 8.10. Yeah.
You think there's a less than 10% chance that it happens?
Here's the thing.
Oh man,
I give it a Royals historical with this front office, less than 10% chance of happening.
What if a good team had him?
With the caveat of a plus or minus, it can only be minus 10, but a plus 41% based on J.J. Picollo is now the actual GM and not Dayton Moore. That could take it to 51% chance that he's not on the Royals, that he is traded, rather than my going off of years past where the Royals don't trade players with team control, and certainly a bullpen piece that has 23 and 24 still of team control in Scott Barlow. If they feel like they're going to compete next year and then really be ready to go in 24, Barlow could be a part of your bullpen. Would you do that? The Royals of 2021 to 2007 would be a no, that's not happening. JJ doing something different? I don't know. All I can go off of is what we've seen so far.
So, just like Matt, absolutely refusing to play the game by the rules that I have imposed upon you, totally skirting the system.
Good. I gave you two different numbers. I
know, but that's the whole point, though. The thing that is stressful here is how hard it is to divorce what they would have done historically over the last 15 years and what they objectively should do, and maybe should have done last year.
Well, the
Brewers would have traded Scott Barlow last year at this point. Like, they would have been a year ahead on this one. He's got 2 years of control after this. It's hard to sell things that still have value. I understand that. I do. It sucks that he would buy a house this offseason and then get traded today. But the market's looking pretty. The stove's looking pretty hot.
You know,
it's looking toasty out there for some good relievers, which Scott Barlow is one of. He's not quite 30 yet. 2 more years of control. He could help anybody, except for the Royals. He can help anybody in October, except for teams who aren't in the playoffs.
Here's what I'm wondering and hoping.
I like Scott Barlow.
Is that the Royals drafting a lot of college guys, okay, and the Royals trading for 3 pitchers from the Yankee system that people look at and go, well, this guy might be a really good bullpen. Beckway, could he be a starter? If not, boy, what a good bullpen piece. TJ Sikkema, could he stick as a starter? He's got that bulldog mentality in him, and he's a strikeout. He goes right at guys. Could he stick as a starter? Certainly he could, but man, coming out of the bullpen, that lefty and him throwing strikes and just pounding the strike zone, boy, what a good reliever he would be. And then Champlain, whatever it might be, sort of the same thing. That, 6'5", bigger guy that can't seem to put it all together, even at USC, but with the Yankees as well. They trade Santana for Wyatt Mills. So maybe as they're collecting arms that they're looking at filling the bullpen because they plan on moving Barlow and Stallmont. There's my wishful thinking that maybe is J.J. Piccolo's bigger plan, that he does have an idea of, okay, we're bringing these guys back. That's why we're going quantity over quality, is because we're getting a lot of different guys throwing some numbers at it. Hopefully we get a starter or 2 or just even 1. And if not, we feel like we got some strike throwers with some strikeout stuff that can be in the bullpen, and we can develop those guys into having another good bullpen, and we can find another closer. And one of the reasons why they wanted Dylan Coleman to come back in the Trevor Rosenthal trade is because he can throw 100 miles an hour, and he's got some bleep you in him on the mound, which has that sort of closer mentality. If he could figure out how to throw strikes, that whole thing, that, he's one of the guys that people have talked about that maybe he could be a back end of the bullpen guy. So they're collecting those players. It's just a matter of actually seeing them go out and perform and succeed. You've seen that with Barlow, but you're not doing it this year, and you're not going to do it next year, and then Stallmont's a free agent, and then you'd have 1 year of Barlow in 2024.
And here's what I think happens here.
You found the cough button.
I found the cough button, but the phlegm I've been finding has been even more unpleasant than the feelings this trade deadline's making me feel.
Uh-huh.
Let me just clear that out. Like, I wish they'd clear out these players with value. No, here's what I think.
That whole thing was a metaphor.
It was all a bit. Here's what I think. I've been drinking coffee and tea all day today, and I'm still just, I don't know, I'm phlegmy. Here's what probably happens. Is they stand right now and they look around and say, oh, we got 2 years of Scott Barlow left. Dayton Moore's got in his mind palace, he closes his eyes and he looks, thinks about the future. And he sees in 2024, Scott Barlow's out there for the 9th inning of essentially the play-in wild card game. And he goes, oh, you know what, boy, Sure would be great to have those flowing locks out there for a ninth inning whenever we're already down 4-3 for some reason, and we're trying to just hold them to keep it a 1-run deficit before we get to the bottom of the ninth. Cool. All right, I get it. I'm sure you're envisioning that. Which means that next year you're going to say, oh, well, by the trade deadline, if we hold Barlow right now, either next year we'll finally move him for real, or maybe we are a little ahead of schedule. Okay, so they'll keep him through the deadline next year, and this team's going to win 78 games and miss the playoffs. And then going into 2024, it's going to be, oh, man, you know what? This year we're going to do it. We're going to scratch the surface of the wild card spot. Let's go get him, guys. And then Scott Barlow pitches a fine ninth inning. They lose 4-3 because they can't score in the bottom of the inning, and then he walks away in free agency. Like, this is the future that I am afraid to envision. Yeah. And I wish the Royals would operate just a little more out of fear of guys losing their value, because they have just watched their investments tank, or the value of their portfolio tank with these older guys that should have been moved already. This unless there's something we're not seeing, this is the time for Scott Barlow. With the reliever market being the thing that we have just continued to learn that it is even today, this just seems like the time for him and for Stallmont.
Let's hope it's the case.
I'm afraid it's not.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Maybe this is the time for Frank Clark this year. We'll see. Frank Clark spoke with the media on Saturday. He was very candid, revealing. It was a fascinating press conference. We've heard one clip already about him talking about losing weight, cutting out red meat, cutting out liquor, not drinking that anymore. He was having the gastrointestinal issues, and that turns out to be a connection with the liquor that he was drinking. So he's cut that out his off season, and how important he took it to be a professional and all of that stuff. So we've heard from that. On the other side of the break, we'll hear from him. He had a conversation with Andy Reid, how hard it was last year for him going through all the off the field stuff. And then his view on George Karlaftis. He had a lot of fun things to say about George Karlaftis. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson
More sand in my ass and stuff like that.
on Sports Radio 810.
That's hot in here. Oh.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll keep track of the trades if they are taking place in Major League Baseball. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock Central Time is when the trade deadline takes place. Frank Clark talked on Saturday. He is a slimmer, what looks to be quicker Frank Clark. Although a year ago we heard about, Frank Clark and different things he was planning on doing, and then when he hurt his hamstring, then getting back and playing, it was okay, now he's got his strength back and all of that stuff. But maybe this is different this year. Frank Clark was asked about last year and the off-the-field stuff and just how hard it was for him going through all of that while trying to play football.
It was hard as hell, when you're going through all the stuff I was going through, it's hard, it's life, but, I put that on myself, so at the end of the day, it's like, when you put that on yourself, you got to deal with it. You got to be I'm a stand-up guy, I don't run from nothing, everything that I've been through, y'all know everything I've been through, everything I've went through, I stand up to it, I stand up, face it as a man, you have to, that's the only way you grow from anything, that's the only way you can experience it. Only way I can tell my young dudes, only way I can tell my kids, only way I can tell my little brothers right from wrong is if I've been through it. I'm the top dog in my family. So everything everybody's been through, I've been through it harder than everybody. And I'm fine with that because I'm the example. When you're the example, you're going to go through everything first. So then everybody behind you, they follow suit and know not to do it.
So hopefully last year with the incidents that took place, the stuff off the field, dealing with all of those things, an early injury, showing up, as he said, he was overweight. He had a gut. We heard that. He talked about that and losing weight and looking at the film from last year, how slow he was and that's not who he needs to be as a player, and that's why he took the offseason so much more seriously than he has in years past and professional and all of those things. So in the offseason, the question was whether or not Frank Clark would return, and I certainly didn't think he was going to be on the Chiefs this year. I thought they would cut him, move on. Instead, they restructured the deal. They keep him for $1 million more than what they would have taken in a dead cap hit anyway. He talks about a conversation that he had with Andy Reid in the offseason, sort of a get your bleep together convo.
It was flat out. He was like, I know what type of player you are. You know what type of player you are. You didn't show that this season. Flat out. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. Me and Coach Reid, we very real. Coach Reid from East Los Angeles. I'm from South Central. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we going to keep it real with each other. We West Coast boys. We L.A. boys. So at the end of the day, I understand. I relate. We relate fine, perfectly fine with each other. We both had to work hard to get it. Wasn't nothing easy in life. So at the end of the day, I come in last year. I'm going through what I'm going through. But at the end of the day, I still have a job to do. And I didn't do my job like I should have, in my opinion, to my capability. And some people's opinion, that's average. That's average year. I watch the average players get 5 sacks or whatever in a year. But to my standard, that's not good enough. And obviously to my coaches. And I appreciate them for that, for holding me to that standard.
A player that shows up the next year and says, last year I wasn't taking it as serious as I should. I had other things that were off the field, distractions that were my own doing. That I did that. I put that on myself to do that. And now this offseason, in a get your bleep together offseason, looking back and seeing what was a below average year, substandard, and 4 or 5 sacks, that's not good enough. Watching the tape last year, being embarrassed, seeing a gut, as he said, and then going into this offseason and saying, all right, it's time to get everything back in order. It sounds great. Like, that's the thing. Like, I hope it's true because a Frank Clark resurgence and a bounce-back year from a couple of years being, off the grid, it felt like, on the field at times, would be just mammoth for this defense if that were the case. So I'm hoping it's true, and clips in practice so far show that he does look pretty damn fast. So is that going to translate to then production on the field? We'll see.
It kind of goes back to Andy Reid using the word endurance today, that he has the endurance so far. Now, I don't know how much you can endure during one padded practice so far. That's going to be something that Frank Clark just has to prove it for the remainder of camp and into the season. He has to prove it to Andy Reid and to us and to himself. It's going to be something that you can't answer in week 1 or 2 or 3. What's Frank Clark's season look like by week 8? We'll have a lot better idea, obviously.
So let's hear from George Karlaftis, Travis Kelce, Frank Clark.
That makes sense.
We heard from Travis Kelce today. Let's hear from Frank Clark on Saturday talking about his goals for this year, and then gets into a conversation about George Karlaftis, which was pretty fun.
To be the best I can be, best teammate I can be. Help these young guys. We got some young guys in. I got George, who's a first-round guy who's got to be ready to play. So at the end of the day, everything, part of my, part of practice and part of the things I'm doing in practice is helping him understand the system faster. As a rookie, I know how tough it can be coming in when you got all these different things going on. You got people, your family, you got friends, they all on your back and stuff like that. And for a guy like George, he Big Ten guy, I'm a Michigan guy, so, we got that Big Ten bond. And, I just want to see him be successful. When he lines up outside on the other side of me, inside, wherever he lines up, I just want to see him be successful at the end of the day.
Interview with George after practice, just can you describe what that's been like and what you're sort of working with him?
Yeah, George is dope. George is a dope rookie. One of the more, he listens, and I honestly like him. He's a favorite for me early, as one of my favorite rookies ever, because he listens. And he wants to know, he wants to be good, he wants to figure it out. He understands, it's a different game. He understands a different twitch in the NFL. It's a whole different, you got to understand things. I was teaching him today. He asked the question about getting off the ball. He noticed I fly off the ball. I fly. He's like, bro, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? I explained to him, some different keys. I can't speak on them, obviously. But I explained to him some different keys, and he came back to me I was just sitting there zoned out looking at the sky. I just came off the field 5 plays straight. I'm I'm chilling looking at the sky, zoned out end of practice. He come running over to me bro. He bro, I did it. I'm like, what, dude? He scared me. He bro, I did it. I did what you told me to do. I was like, oh, cool, all right, good stuff, bro, you know what I'm saying? But it's just the fact that, that he came over so excited, bro. He came over so excited, and it was just as a going to my 8th year, watching a rookie be so, it was the most excited I've seen a rookie, basically his ability to retain the knowledge that I was telling him, and for him to go do it, and for him to feel it and see the success from it. I was happy, and enjoy his fruit. So at the end of the day, that's how I feel about George.
So look, not knowing what all goes on in training camps across the league, I don't know how many first-round draft pick defensive ends would come in and do those things and act like he's sort of undrafted free agent or little league. I did it. I did what you told me to do, Frank. Hey, coach, I did it. I did that thing. Which is awesome. And Frank Clark saying he's my favorite rookie I've been around. Enthusiastic, all of that stuff.
Really fun.
Which makes sense why look, Frank Clark talked about the investment in the offseason, taking everything more seriously, doing what he was doing with his body, nutrition, losing the weight. This is going to be a big year for him. It's got to be all of those things. And he's also been staying after practice, working with the young defensive ends, working with George Karlaftis. Those things to me matter. That sticks out. Again today after practice, Frank Clark, George Karlaftis working. Mick Shaffer next.
Dare to excel with University of St. Mary MBA. Join St. Mary for a virtual info session at 6 p.m. on August 9th. Register at stmary.edu. Orlando Brown Jr. brought the news of the day with him to St. Joe this morning as he reported for Chiefs training camp, where he reportedly plans to sign his one-year franchise tag. Patrick Mahomes left practice today with an apparent ankle injury, but Andy Reid said of Mahomes, he's okay, he's all right. Reid said an offensive lineman was pushed back and stepped on Mahomes. Mahomes later returned to practice and finished by jogging with the rest of the team. Judge Sue Robinson has recommended the Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson be suspended for 6 games, but the NFL has 3 days to appeal, and the Brewers have traded star reliever Josh Hader to the Padres for a haul. Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41 joins the Zone live from St. Joe next. I'm Joshua Brisco. This is SportsCenter.
You know, tons of stuff that we still have yet to get into today. Mick Shaffer heading back from St. Joe right now. We'll talk with him. We got Learn Funniest Best coming up as well. But I did want to weigh in just a little bit on Deshaun Watson and the 6 games now that some of the excerpts are coming out from the ruling by the Judge Robinson. Judge Robinson ruling that Deshaun Watson did intend to cause contact with his penis, did so for a sexual purpose, and knew such contact was unwarranted. So any thoughts of Deshaun Watson was seeking just a regular massage. Judge Robinson rules against that. She agrees that Robinson met the NFL. The NFL met its burden of proof on Watson engaging in sexual assault. The shorter length of suspension revolves around, quote, nonviolent assault, end quote. I wonder if the victims would agree with that. She said, quote, Mr. Watson's predatory conduct cast a negative light on the league and its players, sufficient proof that he violated this provision of the policy. Predatory conduct. Mr. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL. I believe it's appropriate for Mr. Watson to limit his massage therapy to club-approved massage therapists for the duration of his career, and so impose this mandate as a condition to his reinstatement.
I'll also note the idea that this is his that he is a first-time offender is wild to say about someone who has 24 accusations. He's not a first-time offender. This is his first time being held accountable for the offenses. I do not know how those can be considered to be the same thing.
The NFL has to get involved here and appeal and take it to Roger Goodell because 6 games is absurd. 6 games is crazy. Ben Roethlisberger was being investigated and the personal conduct policy with an accuser on a night as opposed to 30 women over months and months and months and months and months, and even Judge Robinson saying that It is more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL, and yet handing down a suspension that she said has been in line with other suspensions, as the 6th game being the go-to suspension. DeAndre Hopkins will miss the first 6 games for a PED that was 0.013% above what was allowed by the NFL, and he will be out for 6 games for a PED.
I think she's arguing that there is not precedent for a punishment like the one that could have been given to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, you know why?
But because
we've never
this
seen
hasn't
an
been
NFL
happened. But exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Exactly. No. I mean, you beat me to it. But this is the reason that there is not precedent for how you suspend somebody with 24 sexual misconduct assault allegations is because no one else in the NFL has ever been in this spot. Certainly never at the price which the Browns paid to acquire him. It's this is a uniquely upsetting situation with a uniquely upsetting response that I do not think accounts for the details very well whatsoever. But as you said, the NFL has 3 days to make their own appeal, and it would be... I don't think there's a way that this ends feeling like there is justice at hand anyway.
Yeah.
Seems like the NFL has some ground to make up here.
Well, and also, I mean, it is... I love the sandbox of life. I love sports. I love covering it because we don't have to deal with really serious stuff. And then every once in a while we do, like Deshaun Watson. But the fact that the Cleveland Browns structured the contract the way that they did so that Deshaun Watson is going to lose $345,000 of his $184 million contract if he's only suspended 6 games. If he's suspended for a year, he loses $1 million. He keeps his entire $45 million signing bonus. He's going to keep the remaining fully guaranteed $184. And most people have noted that weeks 1 through 6, the easiest schedule in the league is Cleveland. The first 6 games of the season, which is interesting, which is not something that Judge Robinson has taken into account. Sure. It's just that, the Cleveland Browns structured the deal in a way to where Deshaun Watson was insulated from having any money being given up because of a suspension. And then the NFL schedule algorithm spits out weeks 1 through 6 as being the easier games of the year for them. Other suspensions in the NFL, Calvin Ridley was suspended 17 games for placing a $1,500 on some games, which obviously goes to the heart of the NFL in that they are playing the game that is not rigged or other things going on besides just going to try to win the game. So gambling, the heart of a lot of issues. Vontaze Burfict was suspended 12 games for targeting. DeAndre Hopkins 6 games. Martavis Bryant has been suspended a lot for weed. Josh Gordon has missed 25 plus games because of weed. Darren Waller missed 16 games because of substance abuse. And Deshaun Watson has missed 6 games because of 30 accusations. Also, they just settled 3 of the remaining 4 today as well. 3 of the remaining 4.
After originally claiming they would not settle any of their cases, that was always quite see-through, but just to remind people where we're at.
And the judge saying that the conduct is the most egregious the NFL has ever seen before. His conduct was predatory. He was not there for just simply massages. It was a sexual purpose. He knew the contact was unwanted. And yet 6 games.
6 games is the recommendation.
It's very odd. I hope Roger Goodell steps in, suspends him for the rest of the year, and then he's going to go and try to sue the NFL, and he's going to find the same fate that Tom Brady and Ezekiel Elliott and others that have tried to sue the NFL, in which the judge will go, so you belong to this union, Yeah. And union collectively bargained this agreement? Yeah. And in this agreement, Roger Goodell has the power to do this? Yeah. Case dismissed. Bye-bye. That's why Tom Brady was eventually... Tom Brady going to court with the NFL, suing the NFL, was not about whether or not he deflated footballs. Right. It was whether or not Roger Goodell and the NFL had the power to suspend him the 4 games. And the court said, yes, this is collectively bargained. You belong to the union. The union represents you. Therefore, you agree to what is collectively bargained. He can do this. Bye-bye. 4-game suspension. That'll be the same thing here if Roger Goodell steps in and says, sorry, you're going to be suspended another 11 games this year. Or just the entire year, because if they make the postseason and all of a sudden he can play in the postseason, I don't think that would be the case. So just the rest of the year, including postseason games. I don't know if they will throw in any monetary fines or not, because the Cleveland Browns went out of their way to insulate Deshaun Watson in this. So we'll see. Next 3 days, there'll be a lot of stuff to get into. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, the NFL or the Major League Baseball trade deadline takes place. There's been a couple of big trades that have taken place. One huge trade that's taken place today. Josh Hader, the all-star closer for the Brewers, who have a 3-game lead in the Central, has been traded to the Padres for a very significant return, including the Padres closer and also a number of players involved that are pretty significant that the Brewers got back. So we'll see if anything else is going on. And Patrick Mahomes had a ankle injury. And where is the? Can you read the tweet from Adam Teicher that quotes
yes.
Patrick Mahomes?
Adam
I can't find it right
Adam
now.
Teicher said, "Here's Mahomes on what happened today." Quote: "I just got stepped on pretty hard, so I'm sure I'll get a little little bit of a scratch and a bruise on there. But luckily, it wasn't the ankle or anything like that." That is from Adam Schefter on Twitter, or Adam Teicher on Twitter. Sorry, Teicher, wrong Adam. I know who it was.
By the way, this is a pretty phenomenal tweet. Said, if an NFL player had bet on how long Deshaun Watson's suspension would be, he'd have gotten a longer suspension than Deshaun Watson. It's a pretty good tweet.
Good tweet.
All right, Mick Shaffer was there in St. Joe watching practice. First padded practice of the year. It looked like maybe some real football was going on, Mick. And then, of course, everybody holds their collective breath. We couldn't see what was going on. We weren't there. We were reading tweets. We were trying to follow it in real time. Our pets' heads are falling off. The sky was falling. Patrick Mahomes only had one leg, and apparently he had passed away on the field and then resuscitated.
Was it one of those things where you looked at your phone and all 17 tweets in a row all said the same thing because you're following all the media members up there?
Here's the thing.
It was hard to read through the tears that were welling up in my eyes, Nick.
Somebody was cutting onions in here. I don't know. It started off with Mahomes is going to the trainer. They are looking at his left leg. And then, because I'm like, well, huh? And then Josh brings up Stephen St. John's tweet that it was an ankle. I'm like, oh, okay. You could come back from an ankle. I mean, anybody's got ankle problems. That's not a big deal. Steph Curry, ankle problems. He still, won a championship and is finals MVP. And then he wasn't going into the tent, and we're following it to where he then does go in the tent. At that point, once we heard that he was walking and he didn't want to go in the tent, we thought everything was fine. What did it look like from your standpoint that you could actually see what was taking place and see it in real time, not waiting for tweets to come in?
Well, you had to have an eagle eye like Nick Jacobs or Matt Derrick, because Nick said, hey, look at Mahomes. And at first blush, he's just, walking around normal. But you can see him kind of looking down and kind of trying to shake out the pain in that left ankle. And then not long after that, he was talking to Rick Burkholder. So you're like, okay, there's something to this. And then he walked, not with a limp or anything, and we tweeted out gingerly. I don't even know if it was gingerly. You could just tell that, something had happened. And so when he went into the tent, you're like, okay, here we go, we got a thing. But he was in there about as long as Edwards-Helaire was on the PUP list. The Chiefs medical staff these days, man, they are lightning quick.
Really good.
Can the Royals borrow some of them?
I know, right?
Great line.
So he came out and then he was jogging around, and we were like, well, he's not going to rejoin 7-on-7. That would be dumb, and he didn't. And he stretched and jogged with the team the rest of practice, which there was only about 10 more minutes left, 10-15.
Yeah, the whole thing is, as we look back on it, it's like much ado about nothing, right? But at the time, it's like, I don't want to see anything going on at practice in the first padded practice. This feels like one of those to where he's right back out for the next possession. Or he probably doesn't even miss a play. stays in there, finishes the possession with limping a little bit, goes to the sideline, has it retaped, walks back out, or jogs back out there. Old man jogs back out there for the next possession, and no big deal.
It feels like something that's probably going to happen to a quarterback just about every game, right? Whether
Right,
it's
yeah.
on your ankle or a throwing hand or an elbow or something like that. It's the NFL, it's football, and that's going to happen. Problem is, you're wearing a yellow jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and in practice, you do your very best for that not to happen. Now, it's a freak thing. You got your offensive line stepping on you, which can always happen. I don't know. I wonder if it's Creed or one of the guards. But yeah, we taped a couple segments with it. You can have a scare like this, and so you need to appreciate all that has been done by number 15, and all kind of live in the moment because as we know, we can take it away in this sport at any time.
Yeah, once the practices start, I've said this for a long time, and I'll continue to say it. This is now the time until the beginning of the season that you don't want to see your team with breaking news on ESPN or NFL Network or anything. You just don't want to see your team, anybody. No news is good news in training camp at this point moving forward, except for this morning before the first padded practice. We hear the report from RG3 that Orlando Brown showing up to camp today. What was your reaction, Mick, to Orlando Brown showing up to camp? I know the majority opinion was that he would not set foot in St. Joe, and as it turns out, he missed 4 practices, Wednesday through Saturday. Well, I guess missed today's practice, but not in camp for 4 practices, and then going through the physical and conditioning stuff today. So what was your reaction to when news started to spread that Orlando Brown was at camp?
Well, I was shocked. I was like you, I think, and a lot of people. I didn't think he would sniff St. Joe this year because we've seen how these things have gone before, but then also the interactions or lack thereof between Brown and his party and the Chiefs this offseason. And I don't know if we maybe read too much into it, if it was friendlier than we thought, these negotiations. So I'm shocked that he's going to be back today, and which is going to be plenty of time to get back in the fold before the regular season, even with his 5 days of acclimation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a pleasant surprise for Chiefs fans. And Andy said, when the fish is in the boat, I'll tell you about it, which I bet he doesn't. But not quite back there, and they were pretending like they're acting as if he wasn't there yet, but by all accounts he is and will be, and it's great news. It's been an uneventful camp. When I first heard it, I'm like, great, we have a storyline for today.
Right.
I got a 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock news hit. That's it. And then Mahomes happened. I'm like, oh man, that's a busy Monday.
Then Mahomes had his ankle stepped on. How about that? Mahomes' ankle then trumps Orlando Brown showing up to camp when that's been the story for 3 months.
Yeah. And listen, hey, Orlando Brown's got some big feet. Is that what we want? Stepping on ankles?
The first thought that I had was when it was like the defensive line pushed the pocket back into Mahomes and he got stepped on and hurt his ankle. And I'm like, damn you, Orlando Brown. He doesn't show up to camp and then padded practice. You got a backup left tackle in there who probably getting walked back by Karlaftis or Frank Clark, who's now skinny Frank Clark. And it's all because of him. And way to go, teammate. But no, that was obviously a very quick reaction and a frustration of that, but all good in the hood.
No more quarterback sneaks. We know that, right?
That's true.
Just no more under center, period. Okay.
How about this? Mahomes holds out until the first game of the season. Just hold, or does like DK Metcalf, does a holds in, shows up to camp but is just not practicing.
Yeah.
I'll be there, but I'm not going to be out on the field. I'm not. That's fine. We can live with him, but I'm not going to call him dad, even if there's a fire. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Mick Shaffer hanging out with us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB as the Chiefs finish up their first padded practice today. Travis Kelce was talking about the wide receivers and sort of getting used to an Andy Reid offense and not as many paper lines. There's sort of more rules. And that to me is going to be really interesting in how quickly the grading curve happens, the learning curve, I should say, happens for these wide receivers, because we talk so much about Spagnuolo and how intricate his defense is and rookies and things like that. But then Travis Kelce has talked about it before, Mick, and weighed in again today about these little nuances that you can adjust on the fly and you can ad-lib, and it's not where you are specific to this route, and that's what you have to do. If you're reading it correctly and you and Mahomes are on the same page, you can run a little bit of a different route depending on the defense. And Tyreek Hill and Mahomes were on the same page, and Travis Kelce and Mahomes were on the same page with those things. With that being the case, I just wonder, how long does it take, even though we've talked about the relationship and getting in sync with MVS and Juju, and Sky Moore seems to be a guy that's been one of the stars of the camp so far, that with those small little nuances, that's going to just come with time and reps over the course of the season, and can't happen this early on when you're talking about now facing defenses in pads and different adjustments that'll be made, not just throwing to them against air down in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect it to. Look, this offense was already probably the most unscripted in the NFL. If he's saying it's going to become even more so, then that's probably terrifying for defenses. But it's also, I mean, that you don't just go out there and do it. I mean, it takes reps. It takes, a month or so of training camp or whatever it's going to be, and probably longer. I mean, I don't remember, Kelce and Hill being on that same kind of sixth sense level with Mahomes in year one. Kind of developed maybe 2 and 3 and year 4 after that. So yeah, I don't know if I expect them, MVS and Juju to be on that, to where like, okay, I'm Travis Kelce. I'm making these 3, 4, 5 moves that aren't part of the route, but Mahomes, I know he's making those 3, 4, 5 moves because we've done it over and over again. I don't expect them to be at that level, but I think that's the plan.
Yeah,
and that's the street ball. Right?
Your first read is what the defense is doing, and then you just play street ball after that. Just guys, adjust your routes. It's not paper lines. I still want an explanation as to what that means by Kelce saying it's not paper lines, it's more rules. So I don't know what paper lines that are there. I'm not really sure. Mick Shaffer is on his way back from St. Joe, the first padded practice today for the Chiefs, and Orlando Brown is there in camp. Now the only thing left is when Carlos Dunlap shows up. Other than that, everything else is, padded practice going on. Orlando Brown's reported. Whenever Carlos Dunlap gets there and starts practicing, it'll be now the storyline, the conversation about the team is just simply moving forward and what the development is going to be of these players. It's not anymore about when does Orlando Brown get there, which is awesome. It's good to know. And good on Orlando Brown. He might have been frustrated, but missing only 4 games. But now, when Carlos Dunlap is in the fold, you just simply are able to look out on the field and see the guys. He'll be joining a defensive line. You've seen a number of practices. Does Frank Clark look faster? I mean, he definitely looks thinner. Does he look faster and better, as if he took the offseason more seriously than maybe he has in his career, as he talked about that on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he looks way skinnier than just 12 pounds lighter. I would double that. I mean, he looks like he's 24, 25 pounds lighter than what he was in years past. I mean, at first glance, he's almost unrecognizable. Then he delivers a hilarious soundbite. You're like, that's Frank. And so, he looks faster out there. In fact, they did one-on-one today, and that offensive line did more than hold their own. They were dominant, save Clark on the edge, beating the right tackle. I can't remember if it was Wiley or who it was repeatedly. But, I mean, Creed Humphrey can, stop a train, it feels like. And Trey Smith's not far behind, too, and he's right there as well. So the offensive line kind of shined in that drill, but Clark looks fast. Look, they're all fast out there, and it's splitting hairs, but he did, and that's a good thing. It's something that's needed. Maybe that's the thing that was keeping him from being a 10 or 12 sack guy. So we'll see. But you definitely notice a difference up close and personal with him.
Yeah, I've been seeing some videos that have been tweeted out and things like that. And one of the videos that we talked about earlier in the show was Jerick McKinnon was stopped in the backfield by Frank Clark, who just burst into the backfield, and it was one of those from the shotgun. McKinnon was to Mahomes' left. He takes a snap and sticks the ball out. McKinnon runs to his right, grabs it, and then goes to cut up. But before he can even do that, Frank Clark was already there and tackling him. And it was like, wow, that was a pretty quick burst. Now he shot right past Roderick Johnson. And so it's like, yeah, but is he going to do that in the game? But also, against Roderick Johnson, I hope Frank Clark is doing that if he's faster. If not, that's a problem. So at least, Roderick Johnson, who they've liked, and, no longer has to worry about being the starting left tackle now that Orlando Brown is back in camp. It might have been against him, but it was still that he got absolutely burnt by Frank Clark. And how quick he looks, I don't think he does that last year. I don't think he gets to that point last year. So we'll see. Hopefully it is. And I love the fact that he talks about George Karlaftis, and it's his most favorite rookie that he's had, and Karlaftis being so teachable and having fun with them, and he's sort of giving everybody energy. And yet again today, I think it's every practice that he stayed after practice and has worked with Karlaftis. To me, he can talk about what he's done in the offseason about, the nutrition and cutting out the liquor and red meat and all of that stuff. The fact that every single practice he stayed after and worked with Karlaftis tells me as much as I need to know about his commitment this year on the field and to the team.
It tells you a lot about Karlaftis, too.
True.
True. There's no first-round kind of air there, right? It's, first-round pick with an undrafted kind of attitude, I think is what he has. And he's thirsty learning. He knows his role, and he's not going to take anything for granted, although he's going to be starting defensive end. And those two are very similar. I saw them both go up against Johnson. Clark just beating Johnson around the edge, and Karlaftis is a bull, man. He'll put his helmet in your chest and just shove Johnson back in the backfield 5 yards. I think that might have been the play where Clark came over and gave him a big old high five and attaboy. And so, yeah, there's a relationship there, which is always a good thing. And look, this is all needed. We talked to Montana today as well, and there are a number of guys that could factor in for playing time at that defensive end position because, frankly, it's been a huge weakness over the last few years. You lose Melvin Ingram, was probably your best guy last year at that position. And so all that stuff is needed. A lighter, quicker Frank Clark is needed. A rookie that's going to come in right away and be productive and disrupt things is needed. Quality depth, they have to have it. Otherwise, we're going to be singing the same old defensive song as we have the last however many seasons.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We're going to learn funniest best. Mick Shaffer is hanging out with us. He is presented and brought to you by Kona Big Wave. Take a little break and single task tonight with a Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing Company. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone rolling along on a Monday, heading up until 2 o'clock. Learn funniest best is next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
When your kid graduates high school, and what a monumentous accomplishment.
That's right.
It's just,
especially for your kid.
It's
Did they find out new words and new dictionaries?
Monumentous.
Monumentous.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Brought to you by Kona Big Wave. Take a little break and single task tonight with a Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing Company. Time to get some Learn Funniest Best. And then when we're done with Learn Funniest Best, we'll get Mick Shaffer to weigh in on any Royal that may or may not be traded. We'll do just a pass-fail at the end of the show here because the next time we talk with Mick will be after the trade deadline. So be thinking of that, Mick, just a pass-fail, a yes or no, a thumbs up, thumbs down for players' names that we'll throw your way if they'll be traded or not. So really give some in-depth thought to that because it's going to matter one way or another what you say next time we talk.
I'm driving back right now, so we'll try the thumbs up, thumbs down. See how that works.
You know what? Just you can thumb up or down at 10 and 6.
And then I can try to gauge what if it was a thumb up or a thumb down just by listening really closely.
Yep.
And we'll see if I accurately interpret that for the listening audience. I think this
listen to my thumbs.
Yeah, I'm listening to your thumbs. Try to get your thumbs right up to your phone microphone, and then I can do it.
That's definitely a thumbs down. I can hear it. All right, Learn Funniest Best. We go around the room/car and say what we learned from the weekend, the funniest from the weekend, and the best from the weekend. You know, what I learned was that those that are writing and directing and producing things in Hollywood sometimes still don't understand how sports work. So finishing up Terminal List on Amazon Prime, really good show, Chris Pratt in there. So finishing that up over the weekend, he's talking to one of his friends, and she's a big fan of Alabama, Roll Tide. She's a pilot. She's getting ready to take off, standing outside the plane or whatever, and she's looking at her phone, and he's like talking to her about football or whatever, and she's like, "We need one stop. We need one stop. That's it. One stop." Then it shows a video of a player running free, a running back. She's, "Yes, go, 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 touchdown. Yes, touchdown." I'm like, come on. Come on. Can't you? Somebody's got to be there that says that, you know, hey, one or the other. We need a score or we need one stop. But you can't say you need one stop and then show video of an Alabama running back breaking free on her phone and she goes crazy.
Here on The Zone, this is a service I'm going to formally offer now. For the low price of $10,000, one of us here will read through your script and make sure it is sports compliant.
Thank you.
We'll do that for you. $10,000. You can Venmo it directly to me. Jason, I'll get you your cut afterwards.
Seems like such an easy thing to take care of.
We can do
Sometimes it's a bad script. Other times, like, they'll do multiple takes and sometimes ad-lib different things. And when it gets down to editing, they'll have, like, maybe only one choice for – that guy's not coming from me. They'll have only, like, one choice for the we need one stop line and then only one piece of video. I don't know if that happens. I'm not defending Hollywood here because they're the worst when it comes to sports and that kind of stuff. So it could have been in the script, could have been like, stand ourselves in a corner.
Big
Hopefully,
TV guy standing up for
Hollywood. Out there like
Hollywood.
Jason and Josh.
Yeah, TV guy.
Coastal elite Mick Shaffer
right.
stands up for Hollywood. I don't like it.
Also, the movies that the kids love, the Zombie on Disney Plus, the Zombies movie. There's now 3 of them out there. But in the first one, like the dude is running for a touchdown, and he's got like 5 people on him, and he's falling down at the 5-yard line, and his knees clearly hit the ground at the 3. And then he reaches for the goal line and puts the ball over the goal line while his body's laying on the ground, and the referee, touchdown! I'm like, come on, man. You put it in slow motion to show us that the guy's knees hit the ground at the 3. Either way.
And apparently he's a zombie. He could have lost his legs. There are a lot of ways to work around that.
Yeah.
How about Remember the Titans, which has a ton of holes in it? But one, the little girl's recounting a game, and she's like, all right, we're down by 6, and they have the ball with like 3 seconds left, and we run a safety blitz, and they cause a fumble. We recover the fumble, running for a touchdown. I'm like, who up by 6 is running a play?
On the last play of the game.
The ball. Hollywood.
Seems pretty stupid. What did you learn, Josh?
I learned that you can drop $2,000 on breakfast if you're not careful.
What?
An airline passenger was fined nearly $2,000 after 2 undeclared egg and beef sausage McMuffins and a ham croissant were found in their luggage by an airport security upon arriving in Australia. The unnamed person traveling from Indonesia to Australia was fined 2,664 Australian dollars, which is $1,874 in American money, after the trio of McDonald's breakfast sandwiches were found in their luggage upon arriving at Darwin Airport. So check your bags. Make sure you've declared your sausage. That's my lesson of the weekend.
Australia's turning into like the worst.
I'm trying to bring in some.
So is that importing?
McDonald's. Yeah, it's smuggling.
Do they not? Do they not have a McDonald's in Australia?
I don't know.
I'll be damned. Burger King here. We are a Burger King family around here. There will be no McDonald's in this country.
This person was like the Han Solo of McDonald's smuggling.
Is that what it is?
I only have Pizza the Hut in Arizona. I don't know. My Star Wars analogy wasn't planned out before the segment.
Didn't he end up eating himself to death?
I think that's what happens, basically. Yeah,
in
pretty
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Have you seen Spaceballs,
I've
Josh?
seen the first half of Spaceballs. I was sick as a child, and I just didn't stick through it. I think I fell asleep.
Out of all the things that you have not seen, the fact that you have even seen a second and have ever heard of Spaceballs is a huge upset.
I know about Dark Helmet. You know, I've got just a
Pizza
glimmer.
the Hut. Went to that reference. Nice. All right.
Trying to fit in.
Mick, what did you learn over the weekend?
All right, so I learned a couple things. I learned, first of all, that George Jetson was born yesterday.
Yes.
That's what I saw, yeah. How about that?
George Jetson was born yesterday in the cartoon. His date of birth was July 30th, 2022, which, by the way, we have not caught up to the technology that they thought we were going to have in the 1950s.
Well, actually, but that show was based when he was 40 years old, so we've got 40 years to get there.
We ain't going to be there in 40 years.
Look where we were 40 years ago, huh? Like 1982 to now? Like, come on. We've got little computers in our hands when we're walking around.
My car is on the ground
That's right.
now. It was on the ground then.
True, but now your car can stay in the lane on its own if you just press a button. Now you can press reverse and your car can, see everything behind you. You've got those. And there are electric cars, right? I mean, we're doing some of those things, right? We have currency that's like all just out there somewhere in like the meta.
Yeah.
40 years from now, Jason, planet Earth is just going to be a molten crater.
That's why we're going to have to live above the ground like the Jetsons.
Okay, you know what? Now I'm back. I was gonna disagree, but I'm back now.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
We're gonna have to live just above the ozone layer, but we'll be there flying in our cars.
It's all good. We'll get
It'll
there.
still take us an hour to get to Chiefs camp.
How about that? Meet George Jetson. All right, Beards.
I learned one more thing, though.
Yes.
I also learned I knew that Bill Russell had won a national championship in Kansas City in college with San Francisco. I did not know that he wasn't the leading scorer in the championship game. He had 23 points.
It was Casey Jones, right?
Had 24.
Yeah.
Former, who went on to be his teammate with the Celtics and coach Celtics.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that San Francisco had 2 Hall of Famers in Bill Russell and Casey Jones. I'm just wondering who the bagman in San Francisco for the Dons in those days was.
And then Casey Jones went on to be an integral part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just an incredible career.
I said the same thing last night.
Did you really?
Yes, Brisco.
We've got our common ground.
There it is. Yes, there it is.
Ninja
I acted like I was really smart there. I'm like, it was Casey Jones, right? Because we talked about that on Sunday Sound Off last night.
Good.
I'm like, it was Casey Jones, correct? And then when the show was over, I'm like, is that from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Casey Jones?
We're a hockey mask.
I'm guessing the bagman was Jeremy Pruitt's wife even back then, too.
That's good.
Beards, what did you learn, sir, from the weekend?
So I've got a theme with my Learn Funniest Best this weekend, and I've got a couple learns here. I'll start out with this.
Theme is NBA.
Well, yes.
More specific than that.
It's pretty well known that Bill Russell was 21-0 in winner-take-all games, but that's incorrect. And so it's commonly stated over the years that Russell was 21-0 in winner-take-all games, so like NCAA tournament, Game 7s, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So where does this 21-0 mark come from? At San Francisco, his 55 team was 5-0 in the tournament. In his 56, the team was 4-0 in the way to the tournament. In 56 in the Olympics, he was 2-0. In the NBA, he was 10-0 in Game 7s. That's 21-0.
Yeah.
The 22-0 is in the 66 playoffs. They won Game 5, which was the best-of-5 series.
Oh,
he's 22-0 all-time winner-take-all games in his basketball career. And my second learned, Bill Russell has played in more finals games than the Pacers, Raptors, Magic, Nets, Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, Hornets, Clippers, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, and Pelicans combined.
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 The combined is the kicker.
Man!
Combined. That's 2/3 of the NBA he
That's
just named
good
there.
stat, Beards.
2/3 of the. How about that? Usually when somebody is done playing and they pass away, it's like, the resume never changed. Well, his resume did change. He picked up an extra win. He went from 21-0 to 22-0 as of yesterday. All right, we start off with Brisco on the funniest from the weekend.
The funniest thing might be that Bill Russell played 165 playoff games. He played 2 modern seasons of play. Anyway, the actual funniest thing in the weekend for me actually came this morning. The news of Orlando Brown Jr.'s pending and somewhat surprising report to camp. Robert Griffin III apparently was our insider on that one. I did not have his push notifications on, so I missed that at 5 a.m.
Do you will now?
Now I guess I'm ready. I know that all things OBJ, you got to go through RG3. That's my funniest of the weekend.
OBJ to RG3, okay.
It's a 3-letter, 3-character little duo there.
All right, very good. Mick, what was your funniest from the weekend?
He's probably Brown's new agent. Not time for one. Yeah. All right, so the funniest was in the ninth inning after Salvi hit the blast yesterday to give the Royals the lead. Judge comes up with 1 out in the bottom of the ninth and hits one pretty good to right field. You don't need to hit it pretty good to get out at that stadium. Immediately, MJ Melendez turns his back to home plate and sprints to the wall, assuming it's going there. And then he comes back inside the warning track when he realizes it's not going that far. But just he had the same reaction as everybody else, like, oh, here we go again, another Judge home run. But I thought that was funny. And Melendez made a really good defensive play, or a good defensive play. I appreciated that. That was going to happen a lot.
Oh, I love that. It was so great. I felt like he was going to run back to the first row in the stands. So there you go.
He was going to Tony Tarasco it with Jeffrey Meyer in the stands.
So, real quick, the Royals have made a trade.
Quick, Mick, guess who they traded?
Witt.
No, they have traded cash considerations to the Mariners for Anthony Mauskowitz.
Yeah.
Mauskowitz from the American Tail. Philly Mauskowitz. They've acquired lefty reliever Anthony.
American Tail.
You've had a Beards reference,
Thank you, sweet. There are no cats in America, and the streets are made of cheese. There are no cats in America, so set your mind at ease.
That's my new best of the weekend.
Anthony Mauskowitz from the Mariners for cash considerations. He was DFA'd by Seattle the other day, and he's been added to the 40-man roster and optioned to AAA. Here's my fingers crossed hope in that he will then be called up when they trade Barlow and Stalmont.
Bullpen arm, yep.
They need the bullpen arms. There's my theory with that. Wait a minute, we did Mick's funniest, right? Or have we done Mick's funniest? Yeah, we did Mick's funniest.
Yeah, you just did it.
That's right, we just did it. Sorry, I was reading the...
This show got even more distractible whenever I joined in, so just get used to reminding us whose turn it is, Mick.
I was reading the tweet from Annie Rogers.
No, I get it.
With the trade.
I was being dead serious. No, we're just neither of us are going to be very good at... Beards, whose turn is it?
It's mine.
Thank God. Somebody
Okay,
we
very
just
good.
need an adult in here sometimes.
Go ahead, Beards.
This isn't from the weekend, but it's a Bill Russell thing. So the year that Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game, Bill Russell has a great quote about that where he says, well, I mean, Wilt averaged 50. He only averaged 38 against me. And I just love it. And it makes me laugh.
He only averaged 38 against me.
Pretty good.
Well, I mean...
Bill Russell passed away this weekend, in case anybody didn't have that piece of information. I don't think that context had been given.
But I like the theme from Beards.
Great theme, absolutely.
It's making me change my best. So
Oh, really?
With that theme, yes. So my funniest from the weekend, I don't know if you guys saw this video. It was going around over the weekend. It's not anybody famous or anything, like a professional golfer or anything, but it's some guys out on a course. They're playing a golf course that has houses that are lined next to it. There's a metal fence, and in the backyard of this fence is a bigger dog. This guy hits his ball into the backyard. So now they've got it on video. So he's going to Benny the Jet Rodriguez this thing from Hercules. He's counting down. The dogs, they show the dog. They show back to him. They show the dog. They show him. He runs. He jumps the fence. He sprints over. The dog then gets up and is running fast. It's like a Doberman Pinscher. It is heading towards this guy. He stops, picks up the golf ball, turns and runs. The dog is on his tail, snapping with the jaw, and then he jumps and does one of those to where you lift yourself up with your arms and flips over feet first and lands on his back with the golf ball in his hand.
Incredible.
That might have been my best, maybe not funniest. That could have been my best from the weekend as well. This guy did that for a golf ball. Doesn't seem worth it. That was a Babe Ruth signed baseball that Benny the Jet Rodriguez got when he pickled the beast finally. Not a golf ball. What was the best from the weekend for you, Mick?
So Saturday morning from 9 to 12, 9 a.m. to noon, we had a KSHB 41 promo shoot with not just sports people there, but the on-air, weather, Gary was there, the news, and it was such a massive undertaking. It was at Crossroads Hotel on a balcony overlooking the city. Gorgeous shot. And our creative crew put so much time and effort and planning and money into the thing. Well, it was with 40 to 50 Chiefs super fans. And I know you're thinking about it, so I'll answer it already. No, that super fan wasn't there.
So you didn't even have an X Factor there to help out?
Didn't have him. I'm going to mention it.
Okay.
All the others were there, and apparently there's a whole crop of super fans that I didn't know about. There is Chief Pope. There are Chief Nuns.
Yeah, the nuns.
There's a Chief Sasquatch family. They come dressed full-on Bigfoot garb.
How did you guys find them?
There is a Chiefs Ronald McDonald.
Really?
We got a hold of a few of them, and there's a whole network. And they were more than happy to come, and they were a lot of fun. They were great people. They brought so much energy. Some came from, like, Wichita, from St. Louis, all the way up just for this shoot. And I tweeted a lot of stuff out, and we danced and did a lot of stuff for the promos, and hopefully there's a ton of them because they put a lot into it. But it was the best part of my weekend, getting to meet Puppet Lady and, all those people. Weird Wolf was there. He's one of the originals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Red Extreme and X Factor, they weren't fighting in the background of this promo?
Neither were there. No, I knew.
Well, I didn't know. Didn't know what was going to take place or not. I did like the dancing that you did. It was a really good dance there.
Yeah,
Mick.
that was really good.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Beards, what was your best from the weekend? I'm assuming Bill Russell.
The best is Bill Russell.
Bill Russell dying is your best from the weekend.
See, that I was going to make that joke earlier, and I felt like I wasn't
Thank you.
going to because I
Thank you.
didn't want to put anybody in that
Whenever I hate this sports discussion, but I'm going to slightly bring it up here. I hate the Mount Rushmore discussion, but
Do you hate regular Mount Rushmore?
No, regular Mount Rushmore's cool.
Okay.
Who's the Mount Rushmore presidents, though, if we got into that conversation?
Ben Franklin's on there for sure.
Why don't we have that discussion?
It's Ben Franklin and then three others.
But I think,
easily,
for me at least, the answer
Alexander Hamilton.
is Magic Johnson and Larry Bird for basically saving the NBA from tape delay. It's Michael Jordan for taking what they did and catapulting it to even higher popularity, and it's Bill Russell.
Oh, I thought you were saying LeBron.
Doesn't sound like you hate the
because he
conversation.
was the first. He's the winningest player in North American sports history. He is the first black head coach in North American sports, and huge person, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I said last night with Sunday Sound Off, is he the first ever or the most discussed GOAT conversation?
He's the greatest winner in the history of American sports.
Because
I mean, he has to be.
Kareem came along after, and it was like, okay, is Kareem the GOAT? Well, I don't know. Bill Russell is the GOAT. Then it was Magic. Well, I don't know. Bill Russell is the GOAT. Is it Kareem? Is it then Jordan? Well, Bill Russell's got 11 championships. So is it Kareem? Is it Bill Russell? Is it Magic? Is it Jordan? Who's the GOAT? Like, I feel like his name has been involved in the GOAT conversation.
I want to bring
the
up
longest.
This one, it's an obvious stat, but I just want to reiterate it for people. He played for 13 years in the NBA and won 11 titles.
It's unreal.
8 straight.
It's
And
unreal.
technically,
Nobody
14,
has won
right?
6
because he was
straight.
the coach for 3 of them, right?
He was the
Didn't
player
he get
coach.
3?
Player coach.
Yeah, so he got maybe 14 rings because he got 3 others
That's amazing.
as a coach.
It's amazing. My best from the weekend was, I mean, I don't watch professional wrestling. I used to back in the day, but I don't. But just seeing the videos of SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar and the tractor and lifting up the damn ring, driving a tractor out there, and then that was just the best seeing that. I'm like, I remember when it used to be like a ladder match, or like you would hit somebody with a chair, and now there's a tractor just lifting up the entire ring to get somebody out. All right, your best from the weekend, Josh.
Mick doing a Fortnite dance, doing the 41 promo shoot.
Yep.
That was it. That was on the list before you guys kind of got to the
Orange
same place.
justice.
It was
Orange
incredible.
justice.
I honestly felt blessed that somebody had the presence of mind to film that, Mick, because it really blessed my timeline this weekend.
And to play that last
Well,
night on
Aaron
the Sunday
Latt's all
Sound.
about his brand on Twitter, so you can bet
Yeah.
he's always rolling and always tweeting.
And you're always killing it, apparently, because
Always.
really I was impressed.
Always doing that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We're going to throw names, and we'll see who is traded, who's not traded, according to Mick Shaffer next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You're dumb, but you're not stupid.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, Mick, yes or no, Whit Merrifield?
Will he be traded or should?
Will he be traded? Will he be traded? Not should. Yes or no, he's traded.
No.
Nope. All right, Barlow.
Yes.
Michael A. Taylor.
No.
Stalmont.
No.
Dozier.
No.
Bobby Witt.
No.
Juan Soto to Kansas City.
Ooh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Package all those guys up and get Shohei Ohtani, or maybe you get like Shohei Ohtani's like 5'1" tall brother or something like that. I don't know. Just get an Ohtani.
That's fine. Brad Keller pitches tonight. Is he scratched? Is Brad Keller traded?
No.
Okay.
I
there
really
you go.
think, based on my answers, I really think the Royals can make a run this year.
Leap on that.